Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. This meeting is being broadcast by Westford Cable Access TV and recorded for playback online. By attending this meeting, you are consenting to have your video and your audio recorded for the broadcast. We have a very full agenda, so we're expecting it to be a long meeting. When we get to 9 o'clock, if it looks like we still have a significant amount of the agenda to go through, we're going to take a 5-minute break so that people, board members, etc., who need to stand up, get a drink of water, go out, do whatever, have the opportunity to do that before we come back. So just to know that there's a 5-minute break that's going to be baked in there if we need it. So the first item on our agenda is open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? Or do you?
No, just wanted to mention that the applicant for 37 Powers Road has requested to continue, so if anyone's here for that, it's not to be discussed tonight.
Okay. Do any members of the audience have something they'd like to bring up during open forum? Okay. In that case, we will move on to our other 7 p.m. agenda item, which is a continuation of a public hearing for the Town of Westford Library Department.
Good evening. Do we need to do anything to this, or is it just going? Hi, my name is Janet Bernardo, and we're here to talk about the Fletcher Library expansion. We won't take up too much of your time because we believe this will be continued again to January. But to start off, we'll do introductions. Ellen Rainville, can you switch to the next slide?
Yeah.
Ellen Rainville is here from the Fletcher Library. Alicia Mox, Adrian Emmerich, the landscape architect. I'm Janet Bernardo, and Jing Yu is behind me from the Feingold Alexander Architecture. We're going to quickly go through the resource areas of the existing site, the resource areas showing the proposed site, revisions that have been asked by the town engineer, and any questions that you may have. And so again, the resource areas, we saw you in October, and the wetlands, this is the existing site. The library is on the right-hand side of the screen. There's a 50-foot buffer to the BVW is in a red dashed line. The wetlands are off of the property to the north. And there you can see the 75-foot buffer line.
There's a pointer there if you need it.
Blue dashed line.
Sorry. If you need the pointer, it's the orange button in the middle.
Oh, can you?
I just forgot about that, sorry.
And the 100-foot buffer is the green line. So the existing property, the existing parking lot does not go past the 50-foot buffer line, and we will continue to honor that line. The next slide. So the resource areas on the proposed slide, again, you can see the parking lot is not going past the red line, which is the 50-foot buffer. There are some changes were made by requested by the planning board, which included the building footprint is set now 15 foot off of the property line. That had been 14.8, and now it's a solid 15. The dumpster pad was relocated to allow the trash trucks to access it on the side. Snow storage has been added to the plans, but we show the plans that we provided to you, which were dated November 18th, show the light blue squares that are kind of hard to see. The dark blue ones, we are changing that because of some of the trees. So just know that the dark blue is what the snow storage would be. And then there was a discussion about the 10-foot landscape buffer on the east property line and clarifying that. And that will be planted by the landscape architects. Will talk about the plantings that will happen right there. Now, the next slide, that we provided comments. The town engineer received the plans the same time you did in September. They provided comments October 29th. We responded to those comments with a letter dated November 22nd, which you may have in your packet. It's a rather lengthy letter. We did do an additional test pit with the town engineer. We did a smoke test to confirm where the drainage pipes were all under existing conditions where everything is connected. The proposed system is that large blue, light blue square that has been increased in size, and the more purple, smaller rectangle, that is infiltration, where the larger light blue is detention, only because groundwater is relatively high. So we are proposing mainly a stormwater detention system that will contain the water, allowing it to go out slowly. Originally, we were tying into the existing drain line that discharges directly into the wetland. We are requesting permission from the select board to cross over the property boundary and discharge at the 100-foot buffer line from the proposed system. The town engineer has not responded to the November 22nd letter yet. We understand they will be providing a letter maybe this week, possibly tomorrow. I spoke to the assistant town engineer today. They are concerned that the 100 at the moment, our design shows that during a 100-year storm event, which is 7 inches of rainfall over 24 hours, there will be ponding in the parking lot for 30 minutes. And they would prefer that we don't have any ponding in the parking lot. So that system may be increasing in size. We will have to do some redesign once we read his letter and his comments and understand what they are looking for. So that is kind of a quick run through of the town engineer's comments, and I assume that this board would prefer to not close until you receive those comments and any other changes get made to the plan. The planning board, we were planning to meet with them on Monday, but that has already been continued till January 6th. Next slide, I believe, is landscape architecture.
Yeah, so just to reintroduce myself, my name is Adrienne Emmerich.
I
I'm a
can't
landscape-
hear it.
Sorry.
No, the mic,
The
that's
mics
just
aren't
for
for
the
that.
cable
You just have to
TV,
speak
so
up.
Okay,
just
I'll just talk
articulate.
louder.
Thank you.
My name is Adrienne Emmerich. I'm a landscape designer with Verdant Landscape Architecture. So I will just quickly go through the major changes to the landscape plan. As you can see on this overview, there are 4 areas where the landscape plan has changed. So if you can go to the next slide. So here we're showing the previous plan that we showed at the previous meeting, as well as our new proposed plan. So at this north property line, we had previously been showing some deciduous trees and shrubs, but when we were made aware of the 1987 tree covenant, we have revised that to show a line of white pines, which we're showing extending to the 75-foot setback from the wetland, to just like leave space for that outflow. So you can go to the next slide. The next change is in the central island in the parking. We are rearranging some trees just to make room for the expanded drainage structure that Janet was talking about. And if the drainage structure expands even more, we might end up having to remove some of our proposed trees, but that is not what we're proposing here. In this version, we're proposing the same number of trees, just in slightly different locations. You can go to the next slide. So this is in the west corner. As Janet said, the dumpsters were moved, and that gives us a new planting bed, which we're planting with perennials and shrubs, which would also be used for snow storage. And that's outside the 100-foot buffer from the wetland. And then you can go to the next slide. The last change has to do with lighting. So This is our new overall site lighting plan. And if you go to the next slide, this is the previous proposed versus new proposed. So previously we had shown bollards along the front walkway. There was a request from the planning board to show an acorn light there to match the existing acorn light in front of the town hall. So we're showing that it's not dark sky compliant, but it does remove the need for any other lighting in that area. So that will be the only light at the historic front entry. And that's all. Thank you.
Any questions? I mean, we know we went through that quickly, but we don't want to take up too much time when we know we'll be back for you. But if you have any other comments or changes that you want us to incorporate, we want to hear them.
Jim?
2 questions. Inside the 100-foot jurisdictional area, I think I counted only 3 trees being removed. Is that correct? And if so, is there a replacement within the 100-foot area? I know you're going
This
to
is the 100-foot
planting
area
plans
here.
everywhere else.
Yeah, I don't have the tree removal plan in front of me right now.
I don't
We
think I do either.
are,
I thought I only counted 3 that were to be removed.
Easily, because there's not that much space.
yeah, I think there's only, I would guess it's like 3.
Anything going back inside the 100-foot area as replacement?
We're
Can
not,
you put anything here? No.
yeah, we don't have anything currently proposed. Well, we're proposing 3 pines in the 100-foot area right now.
Which plan page are you looking at?
If you look at the overall proposed landscape plan,
What number? C-1, 2, 3?
these would be on the L1.
L0-0.
L0, L what?
Probably L3.0, if I'm remembering correctly, the planting plan. Or
Okay.
L3.1,
L3.1?
yeah.
What?
So, yeah, it's up on the screen behind you.
And it would also be up here.
Oh,
I got 3.1.
Yeah,
If you,
so
yeah, if you could use the, the laser pointer to identify where on the plan.
so these 3 trees are being proposed in the 100-foot.
Pardon me, I can't hear you.
These 3 trees are being proposed within the 100-foot.
So those
Is
3,
that what you were asking?
those 3 new plantings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But Jim, how many did you say they were taken out?
I think I only saw 3 being removed that are inside the 100-foot.
Okay, and it looks like
Okay.
they're
Yep, that's good.
replacing them.
Okay, the other question I had is, does the expansion of the library to the rear impact the pump, the septic pump grinder
We will
subsystem?
be needing to replace that E-grinder, E1 grinder?
Whatever it is, yeah.
Whatever it is,
The
the
grinder.
grinder. We are replacing that and relocating it, but we will continue to tie it into the same, the treatment
Down
facility.
the access way into the main street?
Yes,
Okay, good enough.
exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I did have one. It's on the long-term operation and maintenance plan.
Snow?
Yeah, the snow that, just a direction that says if there is excessive snow that exceeds the capacity of the snow storage areas, what, what's the contractor or the town directed to do?
Yeah, they'll need to remove it from the site if
Yeah,
it's
and
excessive.
like to have that words in there.
Yeah, we will add that.
Okay. Sierra, did you have anything?
No, I don't.
Are there any members of the audience who have comments or questions on this project? In that case, looking to continue it to January 8th, or would we want to go to our second
I
January?
think if we can plan on January 8th, that would be great. We will hopefully receive the town engineer's comments and be able to respond to those right away.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to January 8th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item. It's a continuation of a public hearing for Zalm Living LLC, 37 Powers Road. The applicant has requested a continuation without discussion, so if any people were here for that. So can I have a motion to continue the public hearing till January 8th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Our other 705.
moving on to our other 705, it's a discussion of potential plan changes for Thompson 18 Dana Drive. Hi. Whichever you're more comfortable.
Okay. This is new for me.
Okay.
Okay, so, partially my fault because I didn't realize the plan that we originally gave was not the one I originally approved. But the changes that we're making in here, we slid the pool about 5 feet to the left, still staying within the borders that were approved to build within the first time around. The other change that I'm looking to make would be the patio, and maybe I'll just use this little pointer thing.
Yeah.
The patio on the left here, it did not previously go over this line. What this additional would be is about 126 square feet. Again, just look, there is another, you can kind of see the outline right there. There is an existing patio that was there prior to us moving into this home. So that's going to be pulled up, and part of that would just be covered over this little section here, and then just built out to there. No tree removals or anything like that. It is completely just flat ground right now. And that's really kind of the first ask on that piece.
So is that overall an increase in impervious surface?
Yes.
Okay. And just for indication, that long and short dashed line is the 55?
It is.
Foot no build zone?
Yes.
Or the 55?
This one right here. Yep.
Yes. Okay. And you said there was more to the ask?
The only other ask would be if we can start building the first week of January, and it's about 12 days in total, that they want to build the retaining wall right there, and then the hole for the pool. But then the pool would be completed after April.
Okay. Do members of the commission have any comments or questions?
Oh, I can put up a, it's not
So
super
she
well
has to
done,
make
but
a
it's a
written
little bit of
request.
comparison.
For the app?
For the work.
Right.
Right.
Does the written request go to you, or?
Yeah, you could just email that to me, yeah.
Okay.
My only concern this time around was if you were asking to dig the pool hole right now, it's different where you're proposing it than what was approved, so I'm not
Yes.
sure that you could.
Yes, so we did slide just the few feet. Oh man, my eyes are not. So this was the existing. It's upside down. It's confusing me. And then so we did slide it just kind of slightly to the left to kind of match the stairwell there.
Okay. And then, so the patio, looking at it this way, the patio to the left of the pool
Yeah.
is getting narrower. Part of it's because the pool is sliding, and part of it's because you also want to tuck the fire pit in there now?
Yeah, so the fire pit's just gonna be like a placement on top of the patio. It's really just the patio that's being built.
Okay. It just, but, because in the current approved plan, there's a little bit of a jog in the patio near, just to the left of the stairs you were talking about.
Yes.
And so now you're also sliding you're sliding more of that edge over to be in line
Yes,
with that.
that's in part of the 126 square feet.
Okay.
Is there anything that's impervious that's gonna be pervious now? If we're granting them further relief, are they compensating somewhere else?
You
Or are we
mean,
just getting more impervious surface where there was once grass? Because right now we have grass that's pervious. They're changing it with impervious.
So this will be, we're adding, like I said, just the straight patio. We are gonna take out, there was that, right here, there was the existing patio. We will regrass over the half that is not going to be replaced with patio, and then maintain the other piece of it.
But that was part of the plan that was previously approved, correct?
Yeah, that,
What Eric is talking about is what's changing from what we approved.
oh, from what we approved. Yeah, the only
Right. So I
thing-
didn't know if you were compensating somewhere else, if you're increasing impervious surface somewhere, were you taking out some impervious surface and making it pervious?
We were not. We were
You were
just-
not, you were just increasing the size of the patio.
Correct.
And you've actually now got more, more of the, construction and more of the impervious surface within the 50
Within the
foot.
55, or within the
55 foot.
50.
No, that's
That's 50.
that's
That's-
55 foot.
It's a 55-foot line.
Okay, yes, so so more of the impervious is closer to the wetland as well.
About, I think he said it was about 8 feet over.
Yeah, but in terms of looking at the additional 120,
The wetland
Square
for
foot.
us, our line, so it runs through our house. But the wetlands for us, kind of, there's a ledge right here, that kind of falls off. And that's, I don't wanna call it a pit, but it's kind of like just a pit of, wetlands, if you will.
and we're just looking at how rainwater, melting snow, et cetera,
yes.
can get into the ground.
Yes, so
And
right
that's
now,
where we're
they-
losing.
yeah, they did explain that to me. So right now that it all just runs off here. The plan with the patio is to put a little like rock edge along the patio here so that the water comes off and drains off within the grass area instead of running off this way or this way into the wetland.
So the border around where the new fire pit would be a stone infiltration trench?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
If that's the case, do we want to see that? If they're gonna, I mean, because right now they're showing you a patio, but they're not showing you a drip edge or anything that they're proposing to do beyond the patio edge, but they're proposing to do something.
yeah, so what you're saying is that by incorporating the stone trench, that's increasing infiltration opportunities.
Well, it's not shown on the plan either.
If it was shown on, it would, yes, but
But,
it's not,
yeah.
it's not shown.
It's not shown on what's currently approved, and what we're talking about is that being added to
The proposed.
the
And
proposed plan.
it was in the previous, I don't know why, if it's not shown here or what, but it is the plan on this side of it. So they would have that, that's what
that's
that
along the
edge
pool.
is. It is along the back of the pool, and then the same plan would be for right there.
Okay.
Maybe we
We need to
needed,
have a note of some sort explaining what the boundaries of the pool and the fire pit
And
are.
actually, what I'm thinking is
we should have a new drawing.
is where the plan on the right, you're showing basically the area where you're you're asking to make changes.
Correct.
And what we would really want to see is if we were to approve those changes, part of what we would want to see is a full picture of the site showing what's now the new approved plan. So we're not looking at two different, it's so that everything's represented on one plan,
Okay.
okay?
So yeah, I think their hope was that we wouldn't have to redo it and have to pay for it again. Right?
So you're basically asking direction that says, would the commission approve that? And then at that point, it's worth going through the effort to make an updated plan.
They were hoping we wouldn't have to update the whole plan here. We could use this drawing as just the kind of additional piece.
And
I don't think so.
generally, what we want is we want a full site plan of record, because after your project's complete and your engineer does an as-built plan.
Yep.
We would be comparing that as-built plan to your plan of record. So having a kind of addendum really muddies the waters a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so, but from the work that's being proposed,
I don't have trouble.
So what they're doing is they're removing a hot tub that I can see there that's gotta have a concrete pad. So
Yeah.
how much is that, like a 10 by 10, 8 by 8?
It's 8 by 8 currently.
So you subtracted that from what you're adding, and you came up with 126
Correct.
additional square feet of impervious surface.
Correct.
While they're doing this, would be nice to redraw or consider finding areas that are impervious that they could make pervious, or using some pervious paver somewhere instead of having impervious.
That's an option, yeah.
Or drainage
So-
trenches that go into like a French drain or a
Well, is-
dry well or
Yeah, but
something.
if that's the case then too, then you need to see it on the plan.
Right, right.
Yeah, but, and I think some of it is what we would, is talking about what we would like, what additional changes we would like to see to the project before going to the work of coming up with a new plan. In terms of the area, one of the questions, I guess, to you would be, would you consider having some portion of the patio being pervious pavers so that there could be infiltration, so that there could be infiltration of rain, snow melt, et cetera, to kind of offset the fact that it's no longer grass?
Sure, instead of doing the kind of runoff that they were talking about.
There's probably gonna still be some runoff, but at least pervious pavers allow more infiltration than something that's impervious.
Right.
And I would only wanna do it in a small area, you know. I would hate to think that people would say, well, you know, I'm gonna change out my grass for pervious paver, and all of a sudden we just wind up with pervious paver. But here I can see where, like if you took the fire pit area or something and made it impervious, or pervious paver or something like that, where we could allow something like this.
Okay. I think you've heard our conversation. Is this something you'd want to go back and talk with your design team, your builder about in terms of, you know, the options for pervious pavers? You know, do we do some kind of pervious pavers and an infiltration trench along the border as well? You know,
Because that's what they're proposing,
well, yeah, but
or
there's-
considering.
But we should
That's-
see the plan.
Well, there's, I believe there's an infiltration trench along the side of the
Backside
pool.
Right.
There is, yeah.
And you're
They
proposing
just want to
that,
bring it down that additional side.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be on the
Right,
plan,
needs
though.
to be identified on here.
yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and yes, so that would be the other thing is the new plan, it would need to identify where pervious pavers are, where infiltration trenches are.
Right.
But I think, yeah, you've kind of got a sense of the things that we would like to see what, you know, as part of these changes, if you want to talk to your builder, whatever, and then come back with a mock-up of the proposed portions of the plan that are changing, you know, have a continuation of this discussion before we get to the point of saying, yes, you know, it's worth going off and putting together an updated plan for the site.
Okay,
Okay?
perfect, can do.
Okay.
And then would that be the January meeting, or?
January 8th or January 22nd?
It's up to you.
Well, I also wanted to see if you guys had a gauge on whether, like, what type of change you think this is, if it's a minor mod or an amendment, or like, what should she be requesting? This was sort of, I guess,
Yeah,
discussion
the
purposes to figure out how to
process
move
as well.
forward.
Yes, and right now, this is just a
Yeah.
Have we
discussion.
approved this already previously?
Yes, yes,
They're asking for a change now.
yeah. So would it be a minor mod at this
Or
point?
would you consider that, or an amendment because they're doing additional work within the 50-foot no disturb? You know, if they're like 75 or 100 feet away. but
Okay.
Since they're within the
Because it's
50,
within the-
and they're adding, you know, additional impervious surface, then maybe it is an amendment.
Okay. Do we need to make that decision tonight, or can we make that decision on January 8th, when Matt's back?
You could, it's just that pushes it out longer, if it could potentially be, you know, oh, an amendment is the appropriate thing, and then she could submit that next week for January 8th with a
Okay.
plan. I don't know how quickly you get a plan together.
But the thing is I think before she goes to the effort and expense of coming up with a new site plan, is we would want to have the follow-up conversation that makes sure that the outcome of this conversation, yes, what
That we
she-
give her the appropriate direction, so
That
she
she-
doesn't go spinning the wheels and spending money.
Yeah, I think at this point it might be premature for her to have an updated site plan for January 8th, because at this point, she's going off to talk to her builder based on what she's heard from us. She may come back with a proposal, and it comes down
That's
to
the safer way.
what we would be willing, you know, what we would still approve. So yes, I think, some of this kind of, it's stretching out your timeline a little bit, but I think it's kind of,
Better because we want to give you the appropriate direction.
yes, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll continue this discussion
To the
on
8th.
January 8th.
So I
Okay.
guess the second request is moved, right?
Yeah. Because that would have been the week.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, because this is just a discussion, I don't think we need to formally vote on, it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Ackerman, 113 Dunstable Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jeff Hanford, representing the applicant at 113 Dunstable Road. Last month, we were in with the RDA and decided to continue it until the Board of Health had a chance to hold their meeting, which they did this past Monday night. They've approved it. There were some minor revisions, but nothing that changed what we're concerned with here with conservation. It was more in the they were of notes relative to the use and restriction to number of bedrooms, things like that, that the Board of Health needed tightened up on the plan. So now we're back for a final.
Okay. And I think the commission was all set. You didn't have anything else? Do any members of the audience have comments or questions on this project? Sierra, was it going to be a conditional negative?
So I had drafted up a condition, just to have erosion controls be installed and inspected prior to the site work starting. I
Okay.
don't know if anyone had any other conditions.
No, I think we were all set. So can I have a motion for a conditional negative determination?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
But it's not changing anything in the, this is just for our file, it's not actually changing anything for.
That's for the file.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, thank you.
Okay, so, we've issued the negative determination, we're ready to sign.
There you go.
We've closed the public hearing. So, the other 7:15 PM agenda item was our appointment with Bobby's Ranch about the use of Emmett and Neshoba Brook conservation areas. That discussion item has been rescheduled to January 8th, 2025. So moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item, it's a request to use Stony Brook Conservation Area for park run. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Lydia Mayer-Turkson. So could we move on the slides here?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
which,
So I'm a new resident in Westford, and I'm here to share a proposal to use Stony Brook for a park run, which is a 5K community run and walk. I know we spoke on the 23rd, I think, of October. So I've updated some of the key slides for people who aren't aware of Park Run, and handled at the end some of the questions that came up in that discussion. Great. So the proposal is to start a free community walk and run, starting from the track at Stony Brook. Let's see if I can use this. Starting from Stony Brook School track, heading into the woods, down to the parking area, and then back up through East Boston Camp and back up into finishing off at the track. The idea would be that it would be a weekly run, using the infrastructure and the resource. So every Saturday morning between 9 o'clock and 10:30, we would aim to start and complete the run. There's some optionality as well in the route. If in East Boston camps there are people renting out the huts, we could also reroute along the Neshoba path up here. Park Run is actually a UK charity, so it's just about lowering the barrier for exercise and community activities. So the idea is that we would do that every week. It's a community event. It wouldn't cost anything, and it would involve both walking and running, lots of cross-generational opportunities to interact, and rewards participation rather than performance. In terms of capacity, we're requesting up to 80 individuals, capacity for up to 80 in the first year. And then weekly statistics are published on runs. So we would review that and come back to the Commission on a regular basis. So could we go to the next one? I don't want to go through all of these slides, but Park Run is a charity that was set up in the UK 20 years ago. It's basically, the principle is it's free for everyone. We're lowering the barrier of exercise, and it's all about generating and developing community and consistent exercise habits. There are 4 park runs. Well, there are 3 park runs in the Boston area, 75 in total in the US. So once a week, groups of people meet up and run and walk in different areas. So the other 3, the closest to us in terms of similarities to a trail is Cutler Park near Needham, I think. And they're attracting anything between 30, now 160 is at its peak in the summer. There tends to be a plus or minus 30% fluctuation depending on the season. Can we go to the next one? So Park Run, again, UK charity. It's sponsored by Brooks. So there may be some opportunities for Brooks to come, but it's very much a grassroots community event. So how would it work? We would set up a website, which would be Stony Brook website. Then you're able to register. You receive a barcode, and that barcode is yours for as long as you want to come along. And then each time you run or walk or volunteer, you get a credit. That barcode is linked to a token that means that you attended or participated in the event. Next one. So it's a community-run event. It's all about, it's not about performance, it's more about participation. So there are tail runners. So nobody will be last, effectively. There are tail runners who receive credits for running and walking the event. There is an opportunity to volunteer both before the event and on the day. So this is the Jamaica Plain team. So local volunteers can get involved. Next one. And again, at the end, you receive a barcode that links you into you receive a token that you finished the race. Next one. And again, the goal is to reward participation. So you can't buy these t-shirts. Each time you do a park run, you accumulate credits and then you receive a milestone t-shirt. So it's all about rewarding participation. Next one. And then usually it ends up with a local get-together in a local place. So anybody that has the time and can, I'm suggesting we end up in Muffins and Maine and support our local businesses. Next one. So again, why run? Why do Park Run? It's more about, it's not a race, it's more about enjoying the community and social interaction. So could we go to the last few slides? I just want to talk about some of the questions that came up last time. So some of the questions that we had in October were around wear and tear and what would the impact be on the trails. How would we minimize disruption? Because we're asking for shared use of Stony Brook. And then what were the results of the risk assessment? We've included a risk assessment, I think, in the pack. And again, the request here is to request for feedback from the public and feedback in terms of approval, whether you think this is something that is feasible to do. Next slide. So I did attend Cutler Park. Cutler Park is, as I said, it compares to the trails in Westford. The park run has been established over 8 months. We don't see any significant wear and tear of the trail. The runners and walkers tend to spread out a lot. Again, this is not a high performance race, it's more of a community rewarding participation. So we don't see, certainly haven't seen in general, more than the normal wear and tear. There's definitely a spreading out of runners here. And as you can see, I took these pictures on the day that I attended. There isn't significant wear and tear, but again, there's regular communication with the equivalent of the Conservation Commission. So although the numbers can fluctuate, here the averages have been, for something that's been available and around for 7 or 8 months, are around 24 people turn up. And again, the emphasis, it's not a race, so there's no big balloons, there's no loudspeakers. We would use the infrastructure that is already there. There's a carry in and carry out policy, and we won't be issuing, everybody comes with their own water bottles and clears up the rubbish. So, you know, it's very much you bring in what you bring out. Next one. So with the different stakeholders, I've connected with the public schools, with we've completed a rental form for the public schools. I've spoken with the principal at Stony Brook and also Westford Academy, and they're supportive. I've also spoken with the director of athletics and the head coach of the cross-country team to make sure that we coincide with their schedules. They only use the route between August and October, and the meets that they have approximately 3 meets a year, sometimes up to 100 people run that trail, but between Monday and Friday, so that wouldn't conflict with what we're looking to do. They may even volunteer some athletes too. I've also spoken with Westford Trust, and I'm speaking with them to see, so if there are opportunities to clear up any broken branches, or if we see anything that needs maintenance, I've got a link into them. Parks and Recreations are also supportive, and they coordinate the East Boston camp. So in March, I would check in with them regarding rental of the East Boston camp. And we can do that on a bi-weekly basis. And then in terms of the public, we actually posted something on Facebook. Everything is free in Facebook Westford site. And if you go to the next slide, Sierra. So I'm not a social media person, so I'm not sure what sense this makes to me, but apparently there were 48 likes and 31 comments. And they were comments which were expression of interest to participate, interest to volunteer, and interest to get future updates. So you've all, I think, received a copy of the risk assessment. So if we could have any comments on that, that would be really great.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little too hard to read on this slide, but
The risks themselves, the risk statements were truncated in this, and so I kind of, you know, if it was a lot longer, I didn't know what the rest of the sentence said. Do members of the commission have any comments or questions? Jim?
You mentioned on there that you talked with the Westford Conservation Trust. They are involved with the volunteer aspects of the trail maintenance, but there's a conservation restriction on the property that's we need to get, for any activity like this that's unusual on the property, we got to contact the Westford Land Preservation Foundation.
Okay.
I have been in contact with Andrea Perriner-Sweet, who's their president. Unfortunately, she has a conflicting meeting tonight, so she couldn't be here. She had wanted to. And actually, there's a formal notification process outlined in the CR where we, as the grantor, would notify them of what was proposed, and then it would be up to them to agree or raise concerns as to why they thought it was inconsistent with the CR. So that's part of the process that would be happening. That becomes another step in the process after.
I thought that our direction was at our last meeting that the Land Preservation Foundation, should be approached and get their determination before coming back.
and I spoke with Andrea, and she wanted to come to the meeting
Okay.
because she wanted the conversations to be happening in a public forum, you know, so that members of the public can hear the discussion, become informed about, you know, all of the constraints for using the site. And there was a conflicting meeting tonight,
Well,
so
that
she
makes
couldn't.
sense.
So what are the constraints then, Margaret?
So the constraints, in the CR document, that
This may not be an allowed use.
it's very stated what are allowed uses, what are prohibited uses. For example, we can't, there are existing camp structures, but we would not be allowed to construct other types of structures on the site. We wouldn't do things that were, that would degrade or.
Paving of the.
Yeah, paving of the road was
Things
a big
that
one.
would be against the conservation values, because this was purchased with, with community preservation
Funds. Yeah.
funds for the preservation of open space, so there are constraints that say, you know, nothing should be done that would be against those values for which the parcel was purchased and protected.
There's some
How did Andrea say
limitations.
she
There's
wanted to
some
address the
limitations.
next step then to get them involved? Because they've got to see all this stuff, review it themselves and decide amongst themselves and then let us know.
And they might look at the intensity of the
Yep.
use,
Yes.
given
Don't
this
know.
is not a one-time event, but in every
Right.
Saturday from 9 to 10:30 or whatever.
They may have questions of their own that we
Yes.
haven't thought of, but
Yeah.
they need,
Right.
they need
And-
access to all this stuff.
Well, and I also, I also called Rose O'Donnell, who's our contact from the Friends of East Boston Camps, to make her aware, so she could also spread the word with the residents who are, you know, the frequent users of SBCA, so that if any of them had questions or comments, they could come and participate as well in this public forum.
It does seem to be a fairly desirable time of the day for people to use the camp, especially on the weekend. So, you know, it's not a time when others aren't seeking to use the trails.
So what's the plan? Are we going to bring Westford Land Preservation Foundation here the next meeting, or?
That would be the fall, is yes,
Okay,
is to
okay,
get
good.
Andrea to come back,
Sounds good.
because I think, you know, looking at these slide sets, there's always been that, well, let's have the first one, you know, in about 2 or 3 weeks, and
Well,
And-
following the discussion with Park Run, actually, so just in terms of the process,
yeah,
part of the reason that we thought this trail was so attractive, I mean, I run and walk this trail many times, but the proposal was because it's actually the cross-country trail, both the middle school and the high school have been using over the last 10 years. So we thought that's use the existing infrastructure. At some points in 3 meetings, you know, they've had over 100 people, plus they do training there as well and share the trail. So more than happy to come back. In terms of the process, the risk assessment would go once approved, once we got approval, if and when we get approval from the landowner, would go to Park Run, and they would be responsible for all of the liability related issues. So very happy to come and talk with the next.
and
Just another piece now.
yeah, but my thought was, having walked through there in the winter, it's, you get into mud season, stuff like that, is, in my mind, I was thinking that if we got to that point, that it might be better to have the inaugural run when we're now dealing with dry trails. One thing, though,
That's a good
the middle
point.
school uses a different route. They do not use the high school one. There's a
Oh,
differently
right.
marked trail for the middle school, because I found that out when I tried to walk it.
Yeah.
And
But that's
saw
a
the signs
really,
going 2 ways.
that's a really good point, Margaret. I mean, I think we want to do this right, and we want to do it once and for all. So I would want to, the suggestion, the feedback that I got from Park Run headquarters was, don't rush it, maybe come back in and do it by March, set a date in March after the winter has come through. So I'm more than happy to discuss with the landowner and update them on these proposals.
That's good.
No,
So I don't want you to think,
Yeah.
oh gosh, you know, we've got to get it done within a week or 2 weeks. No, we'd rather do it right and start at a time when it's more amenable for people to want to get out.
So what was the discussion about summer when the camps open?
The camps are only during the week. So the camps are Monday through Friday. Where it comes into the rental of the camps is when the scouts rent it on the weekends, when we have family, wedding, and other types of events, the live action role play stuff,
Okay.
that we'll rent the site, we'll rent the Neshoba camp for the weekend. So there are a variety of different or diverse groups that rent it on the weekend, and so they would be using.
So the proposed route, if you go back to the map, the proposed route suggests that we run through the camp, but we've got lots of optionality on that. If you go to, I think, number 3.
Sorry, I can't.
We've got lots of optionality. If the camp was occupied, we could reroute along Stony Brook Trail.
So you'd come through the parking area and then swing.
We would come through the parking
Swing back
area and
towards-
swing back, and we would have, so just here. So the route we were proposing was to start at the track, run through Waukee Trail, and then up Neshoba Trail through the camp here. But if it was occupied, we could just follow this route here, and at the parking, we could turn and go up Stony Trail here and around here, so as not to disturb anybody at the camp. There's lots of optionality there. Also, I understand if the track is going to be recovered, we could also run and walk down the trolley trail and then along here. So we've got optionality depending on what's going on and what people are doing. And we're never expecting it to be exclusive. The idea is that, we have a briefing. It's all about community, and it's all about sharing that space and enjoying being outside.
It feels like you've done the right thing, but we have more to go.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I know we have, I think we have members of the public. I have questions as well, but I think I will put some of my stuff to the side, and if there are members of the public who would like to stand up and come to the mic and let us know who you are, and if you have comments or questions, we'd love to have your input. You could, actually, if you want to sit or stand. Yeah.
Rose O'Donnell. Do I give my street address too? No. I was the last president of the Friends of East Boston Camps. And my son thinks this is a really good idea, but I have some questions. Most of your pictures were really in parks. This isn't really a park, right? This is the woods.
Yeah.
So I went, and we walk it all the time. It's very woody. You've done it, so it's very
I've
woody and rocky.
Yep.
So I wonder if that would make any difference to you.
So we've incorporated that in the risk assessment, absolutely have.
So you'll figure that out.
We've figured that into the risk assessment. We would highlight that issue also on the website, just to make clear,
Don't come if
because
you
it's
can't.
nature.
Right.
For example, if you're there with a buggy, etc., we just want to make clear what
A
the
buggy?
risks are. Oh, sorry, a
Stroller.
A
Stroller. Those running
Sorry.
strollers.
A stroller.
Does anybody push a stroller through? Do you?
Yeah, especially construction.
Not on some of the trails, yeah.
Iron Bob.
But we have factored that into the risk assessment. That's a clear.
So my other suggestion or interest is, could we try this and see, rather than say, yes, this is a thing, because you're going to do it from now forever.
Yeah.
And I do worry that the trails will get eaten down further to more and more routes. And 100 people can't go to Muffins on Main.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if it would scale or if we have the right place for this. And I would like, if you do grant permission, that it be conditional in some way so we can review it.
Yeah. Well, the statistics will come I think that's a great point, and the statistics will come every week, and we would share those. So I think that's something that we could monitor in terms of numbers.
Are there others who would like to? Okay.
Hey there,
Hi there.
Jeff Sutton, user. Wondering about your co-use. Is this an exclusion event, or is this supposed
No,
to
it's
meld
not.
in
Can't hear
with
you.
everybody?
Okay.
Okay.
I can't hear you at all.
Actually, that's more for the TV. I mean, but yes, if you could speak a little louder. So
I want to
people
know about the co-use term. I saw you use that, and I was thinking whether or
Really,
not
sir,
this
you have
is-
to speak up to us. The microphone just records for the television broadcast.
That doesn't amplify your voice.
Doesn't amplify at all. You just got to speak to us.
Okay.
There are times
Is
it's
it a
on.
co-use event?
Meaning that the general public could, the general public who would normally go there on a Saturday morning is able to
Right.
go and use
Right.
And the answer is
the
yes.
trails at the same time.
So are you picturing 80 people going through this with other people on the same trail?
So I'm picturing, at the beginning, we would have a briefing, and we have a briefing at the beginning of every run. So when I say co-use, the runners, and it's not, again, the emphasis, it's not a race. People run at their own pace and or walk. So in the briefing, we would emphasize that it is a co-use, we're sharing the space. So if there are areas that are narrow, you would run to one side. And in particular areas around the parking at the bottom, we'd have like a running lane so that no runners ran across parked vehicles. So yeah, it's very much sharing the space.
So I'm thinking more about people, I know there are dog walkers and most of them use leashes and they could be on the leashes like this, and if 80 or 160 people went around them, those people would be stepped away and watching the runners and not enjoying their path or their walk.
5 minutes.
Is that what you expect with
So-
80 to 160 people at a time?
So I definitely expect running and walking etiquette.
Okay,
What I experienced in Cutler Park, which was a similar, so it was up for around 8 months or so, it had been going 8 months. They have never got to 160. The number of 80 is a maximum, it's a capacity. Realistically, building up, in Cutler, they're in their 20s to 30s. So I think the point about building to scale is really important that we review every week in terms of numbers.
so do you see it as a mass start, even though it's not a race? Everybody gathers at the track and
Everybody
then
gathers at the track,
mass start?
definitely.
So they are,
Everybody starts
okay.
the same, but some will run and some will walk. And there'll always be a steward at the parking, there'll be steward volunteers going into the woods and coming back out again. And then at certain key intersections, just to make it, easy and straightforward in terms of a path. So again, the stewards would be briefed, the runners and walkers would be briefed.
Okay,
And if the runners and walkers had a dog, you're allowed to have one dog on a short leash.
okay, so obviously my concern is for the people that are already walking there and how the impact of folks,
Yeah.
using the trail,
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely, and
but
sharing the trail.
just the size would be impacting what I would see for normal walking on the trail. The other one is any signage. Do you anticipate having any signage for Saturdays?
So that's a really good one. So signage wise, and again, Park Run's all about using the infrastructure that you have. So if you look at, if you could go to the Cutler Park picture, there is one portable sign which says Cutler Park. It's just a sign that will stand at the track. If you
Sorry, I don't know which one that is. It's
Oh,
a
you gotta go
600-page
away.
packet,
Just
so
keep
I
going.
don't know.
There you
Stop.
go.
There you go.
Okay.
So this one here, this will be the only temporary sign that we have at the start so people can find us. And then if you just look down here, the cones, they're actually just base cones. We would place those at key intersections, like the parking, the round part of the parking. And then we would pick them up and remove them so they're not obstructing the path for the users. They're just guiding people around.
Obstructing the path for the users would be my concern. If you see the one on the lower left where you have the flags,
We
One
wouldn't
of the-
use that.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's unique to
So one of the
Cutler.
times
We
that
wouldn't use that.
I was walking, and I walk in from Stony Brook as well, the middle school decided they would use police tape to mark their path.
No, we wouldn't.
And unfortunately, I thought that applied to me. So we had an extra long walk that day because we
Yeah.
couldn't find our way out without crossing what looked like police tape.
So the great thing about
So,
using the cross-country course is the signage is already there, is permanently there on the trees. So we
Yeah.
would just follow that existing infrastructure.
You expect your runners, are your runners local? Is there a local group of Park Run that is already existing
So-
for this?
Well, there's no park run in Westford.
Okay.
So I've certainly seen park runs in Cutler Park and it tends to be local
Mhm.
people. But, obviously Westford is chelmsford and others. So But, I mean, that's the whole thing. The whole idea is to use the infrastructure that we have. We would not have this. This is actually a finishing lane, so we wouldn't use that. The only sign that we would use that we would take away with us is this sort of the main sign at the start and the finish, and that would sit at the track, and then we'd take that away.
Okay, so my comment would be, if you have any signage, make sure that it's clear to everyone else that it doesn't apply to them. It only applies to the folks that would be
Point.
there for the park run.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Last question, is there any monetary benefit to the organization on a weekly
park
basis?
run,
Yep,
No, nothing.
that's all. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else would like to, okay.
Hi.
Hi.
June McMorrow, Kings Pine Road. I'd like to ask, could I ask, what was your name?
Lydia.
Can I ask Lydia a question?
Sure.
You said something about putting it on a Facebook page. Which Facebook page was it?
So I put it on Everything is Free in Westford.
That's where people give things away.
Yeah, yeah.
So you put this on, that's where people give away their kids' toys or things like that. So I didn't see it. When did you do that? Because I'd like to go back and
I
read
did
it.
it on, I
Roughly.
think it was on the 6th, actually.
Of December.
Yeah.
Okay, because I would like to go back and read it.
Yeah.
So I have lived in town for a long time, and I'm a frequent user. And I come to you every year. I have for the past several years, 3 or 4 times, about the weekend activity that happens up there, which is out of control. And I feel like in 2024, the town really did very little to get it under control. There's people who come every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays from 9 or 10 in the morning, and they're there till 6 or 7 at night, barbecuing, drinking, and leaving their trash.
Oh, okay.
There's also people that like to walk the property, run the property, walk with their children, walk with their animals. During the week, there's a camp which the rec department runs, and the hours are from 9 to 5, but there's extended camp from 8 to 6. And so I guess I'm thinking, and I did listen to the Zoom call several weeks back that you called in on, and I did read the packet, and I think in that packet you said you thought the first year you projected about 25 to 30, and in subsequent years, 100, upwards of 100 every Saturday morning. So I'm just thinking this is a lot of people. And, you know, I also want to just comment that I've been walking up there for a very long time, and typically every year I don't go up there in January because it's too dangerous. There's a lot of trees up there, and the snow and ice don't melt. And very often there's snow and ice in there until April, depending on what kind of a winter we've had. So I typically don't go in January, and after that I wear the yak tracks on my feet. So if you want to start this in January, I'm not sure that that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just don't go up there for that whole month, for the whole month. Yeah. There's lots of trees, and the snow and ice don't melt.
So what I'm suggesting is that if we, you know, if we are able to get permission from the ownership, that we would start it more likely in March.
I
agree,
thought I had read
after that
January.
time
Well,
period.
yes,
No,
but-
we've updated that, so March.
This is all still in the conversation phase, but yes, your point is heard, though.
Yeah. So I heard you tonight talk about, you know, and the other thing, I think you mentioned the people that come on the weekend, the live action role players, the legends, the madrigals, the people that dress up like Robin Hood, and typically they're there on long weekends. They're there Patriots Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, and they're there like probably from Friday night until Sunday night, and they're all over the property running around with capes and cloaks and daggers.
Even on the other side of the pond?
I don't typically walk on the other side of the pond.
Okay.
The access on the other side of the pond to the beach is precarious, and it's a very steep embankment. So The north side, or what I call the North Road, that runs up by Burgess Pond, where all the party goers are every weekend, and then runs up into the, what I call the boys' camp, there's a couple of hills, but it's much flatter. There's no roots really on that road.
Yeah.
But it is really all ice and snow covered in the winter months. So, I just don't want to see the property further, more crowds come in. I really wish the town could do something about the weekend people in the summer. That's a real problem. I heard you tonight say something about walking on the trolley tracks. The trolley tracks, the terrain there is kind of sandy, and I think it's probably would be a little difficult for us. It'd be like walking on a beach. But maybe your people are all in great shape. I would have a hard time doing a long distance in that. Certainly someone in a stroller couldn't do it. So, those are all just things to be considered, and thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So just speaking to your point about the winter and bad weather, we do have alerts that we would look obviously at forecasters and look at the weather, and also highlight that there have been park runs that have cancelled because of storms or weather. We would also check the trail beforehand to look for any blown down branches or wood, and again assess based on that whether the run could happen.
I know this is a very
Over
important
time,
conversation. I'll reach out to Andrea, get her to be at the January 8th meeting. I've got a couple of my own questions. I will just read them out now so that people can hear them. I don't, and then I think we can come back to them. So the one that, well, there's two really, is because we have people coming in, fairly short notice, sometimes during the summer, wanting to rent the facilities. Some of it is working out the details of who is going to notify Park Run if all of a sudden there's a rental for the weekend, and what's the lead time on that. But the other one is related to the participation cap. Is one of my questions was, what is Park Run's policy if they reach the participation cap and additional people go to register, they can't register, but they decide to show up anyway? Are they covered under the liability policy? Would the tail walkers still wait and be beyond them, or are we just going to have an official group and an unofficial group? If in fact this turns out to be wildly successful and we've got more people showing up than the cap says we have. That's, that was really, I think, the biggest one at this point that would be a concern.
So I can definitely handle the first one.
Well, I just, no, but.
Yeah, this is for food for thought for later.
This is
Yeah,
food for
the
thought
second
that-
one I need to
Yes.
I need to take back to
Yeah.
Park Run to try and work out how, or have we
It just,
controlled the
it's
cap?
because basically this is a public park, so if there are a lot of people who haven't found this place before, they find it, they love it, is really, you can be restricting how many people are participating as part of your event, but there's really nothing that we can do about others who decide that they want to come and use the facility anyway, and I think that's, that's maybe one of our concerns, is if we are really getting a larger use of the trail than maybe the trail can support, given some of its steeper sections.
Right. So just have a question of understanding really. How do you restrict the number of members of the public that come at any particular day?
Right now,
in the
it's
summer?
very much, they're not all using the same trail, and it's also somewhat restricted by how much parking there is within Stony Brook Conservation Area. If we now have all of the parking over at the Stony Brook Middle School also available for people wanting to use it, this is more contingency planning, risk mitigation, thinking about how could this be so successful it causes a problem.
One of the other things you need to think about too is, somehow putting cones and somehow restricting and impacting parking.
Well, that's true. Sierra, can you put a, so I went down there in the parking area, in terms of, so this shows where there's the teardrop loop. And it's basically a one-lane, drive-through, and people tend to pull off to the side to park.
Yep.
I mean, if you can do the other one, what really concerns me is when you're coming out of the woods, you've come down from the Wacky Camp, and then you come past the gate and you're now coming into the parking area. You're following the driveway on the left here to make the left to go up to the boys' camp. But where my car is, that's where you start to have people who've come to use the facility. They park there, they're gonna be pulling into parking spaces, they're gonna be
Right.
backing out as people are trying to walk and run through. And I don't know that there's sufficient space for people to navigate in and out of the parking and, you know, somehow have a dedicated lane for these walkers and
It's a
runners.
safety
People
issue.
park there too.
Oh, people park on this side as well?
So I think that the plan was to put the cones.
Plan is to have
make
a
little
running lane,
right here.
exactly.
People park there.
Right.
So that would be a
Okay,
problem.
so I asked the cross-country gentleman, the athletics director, how does he handle this when he's having events? So he's had up to 100 individuals, and his recommendation was they actually put a running, as I proposed, a running lane with cones, and there is an individual, a steward, that stands there, that then guides runners and walkers along that lane.
But it's on the town website, we also mark this, that we basically, during race meets, we ask the public to not use here.
That's a great point.
So this,
Where
this,
they park.
so this gets into the challenges of making it fully accessible to the people who would normally use it on a Saturday morning and still keep the participants safe.
Can I say one thing about like the track kids? I've seen the Neshoba Valley kids over there too with their coaches.
Okay,
They'll show up like in a couple of minivans and 20 kids get out. So I don't know if you are aware that they use it. I'm not talking about a meet. I'm talking about
Training?
I'm talking about practice, yes.
do they park?
They park right there.
Okay, so
where
they
that
park
car
in it,
is.
okay, so they
They
don't
come in a
park
couple of minivans,
Okay.
2 coaches,
Yep.
and 20 kids get out.
So that's but that's Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know, like, I have said to the coaches, if there's people working up at the camp, you know, make sure the kids are aware that there's cars on the road. Because, you know, sometimes, I don't know, the electrician's up there, the plumber's up there. So, you know, if there's kids running, and that road in the summertime is covered by trees, it's blind, it's shaded, it's also curvy. It can be dangerous if.
Okay,
So, Neshoba Valley Tech kids too.
okay.
Got 15 minutes into this.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, so we will continue this conversation on
Definitely.
January 8th?
Okay.
Okay.
Brilliant. So what are the other actions for me to do to bring to that meeting? What other things would you like to see?
I think at this point, I don't know if there's any,
I don't have any direction at this point. Let Andrea show up.
Okay.
You know, let the, Preservation Foundation has probably heard this, has opportunity to see this public hearing, and,
okay.
we can pick it up from there, and Andrea might have questions. I'm thinking I can think of a few from, legality standpoint that I'll raise at the next meeting.
Well, and I think what would be helpful is if we do have those questions, if members of the commission can feed those into Sierra and Matt, so that
Yep.
there's a,
That would be great.
it's in written format that can be shared with Lydia.
Fantastic.
Sure.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks
Thank you.
everyone for your time.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah. Moving on to our 7:35 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for DeSalvo, 175 Littleton Road.
Notice the time.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171,
The Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024 at 7:35 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Michael DeSalvo for the repair of a stormwater drainage system, including installation of a leaching catch basin within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 175 Littleton Road.
Go. Mike DeSalvo, Salvo Construction. We're, simple as it is, proposing to replace it's a bin block catch basin that was there originally. It's caved in. We got a sinkhole in the property because of it. So we're proposing to replace it. There's two proposals on the replacement. There's a kind of an upgraded version that isn't a full leach system. It acts as a little more of a catch, so factory trucks can clean it out. Or we can go to the original design and do what was originally there. It was just a complete dry well in there.
Your recommendation is to go with the expanded, the larger one?
So it's the same size that we were looking in there gallon-wise. Just the one I proposed was the upgrade, was just, it's just at the bottom, 2 feet of it is a solid unit, so it'll collect sediment and any debris at that point that can be cleaned out. It's not just open to the, to having a stone base like it is now.
So it's better from a long-term maintenance perspective?
Because it will catch any sand and debris on the roads, anything that falls out, and all the catch basins on that property we clean with a Vector truck yearly. It's just, when there's stone on the bottom, there's only so much you can clean and not prevent from leaching in, so that will give us a solid area that we know we can clean and maintain and keep up with it.
Any other questions? Sierra, you have any questions?
I don't.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Would this be a conditional negative or just a?
Margaret? I had one thought.
Okay.
What is the timing for this thing?
At this point, we're gonna have to do it in the spring. Just asphalt plants are closed, so I can't pick pavement, so we'll have to do it right when asphalt plants open up.
Okay.
Awesome. So all the salt and petroleum products from the parking lot wash through here into the wetland?
That's how it is now. Currently, it's how it's always been. Everything's.
That's how it's been, so that was how it was
It's
originally
been designed, yeah. Like I said, everything. The only thing we're doing is fixing what's caved in. I mean, it's the original design on it.
So if, with the new unit you're proposing to put in, with the sand, the salt and
It'll
stuff
help
like
with the sand. I mean, salt's going to dissolve in water and still leach in. I know the existing system has a culvert that connects to it towards the brook. That's all the original system. It will still, that whole tank above it's still perforated to leach out as a dry well. So the main thing it's going to collect is trash and sand. With salt dissolving, it's still gonna wash out and do what it's always done.
Okay. And so I think this action is basically, in more current projects, we have built into the orders the ability to do maintenance and repair, and it just, this being an older system,
Doesn't have.
they didn't have that language to allow them to do that. So is this a?
I didn't have any conditions prepared, so I didn't know if you.
No, I was just more if you had, if you had foreseen any, I was thinking about how I should phrase my motion.
Oh, okay. I had not foreseen any conditions.
Can I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for Kavala, 20 Briarwood Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, at 7:40 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Sandeep Kavala for the removal of an existing deck and sunroom and construction of a 12 by 12 deck and 12 by 24 addition to a single-family dwelling within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetland at 12 Briarwood Drive.
Hi, I'm Tom Block from Morgan Exteriors, representing Mr. Sandeep. To review, currently there's a 12 by 15 room there now with a 6 by 15 deck, which are going to be torn down. and also all the existing footings that are there are going to be removed. The permit for this structure was issued on 10/25/1999. Just says, into the wetlands area, this is going, if you look at the drawing, this is going 6 feet, current is going 6 feet further into the wetlands. I don't know, which button?
Oh, the orange one in the middle.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You see, that's being torn down, that deck there, and that is encroaching into the wetlands by 6 feet.
The
more.
wetlands or the wetland buffer?
Wetlands buffer, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Into the buffer, yes, not the wetlands. I couldn't find any wetlands, actually, but into the buffer. So the net result on what we're building is gonna be 6 feet less encroaching into the buffer zone. So we're gonna build a 12 by 24 sunroom, but only 12 out off of the house. With a 12 by 12 deck, again, a side of the room and a landing. All the footings that we use are all precast cement, so there's no mixing of cement or anything to that effect. We basically dig a trench, drop the footings in. When we do dig the trench, we put all the dirt towards the house side in the event there's a weather event before the inspector's able to come out and inspect the holes before we're able to backfill them. So that way there, if any, we don't want any dirt going into the wetland area. The staging area will be at the end of the driveway, again.
I'm gonna just pull up this other plan that actually shows the driveway and the wetlands, just for context.
That's in the, and it's also in the, yep. And we'll install approximately 40 feet, and if you want more, of 12-inch straw wattle at the edge of the grass. That edge of the grass is, from there on in, it's very steep. So there's nobody that's going any further than those wattles. I mean, if you've been out to the property, you're looking at 45 degrees from the edge of the grass where it gets into the woods. So we're very mindful of that. And that's pretty much it. Unless you have some questions.
No?
So I'm looking at the 100-foot wetland buffer zone, that line there.
Yeah.
So you're going, just barely going into that?
Barely going into it, yes. It's on the left, if you're looking at it from the left side,
There's nothing here telling me.
right
what the
here,
line is.
that's the least amount. That's probably about 6 feet into it, and then as you go further to the right, the wetland buffer zone cross cuts, and it's just about all of it is in the buffer zone on the right. About half of it is in the buffer.
But barely.
Well,
Yeah.
except that I looked at GIS and I see Gilson Brook. And so my question to Sierra had been, are we also dealing with riverfront area?
I actually looked that up, and I could find nothing on that. I would assume when Matt originally Matt started this process.
Okay.
When he looked at it, he would have checked that out, but I couldn't find anything that designated that as that type,
As a perennial stream?
as a perennial stream.
Well, if it's shown on a USGS map, it's,
USGS topo?
yeah, it's assumed.
It's you basically have to do a rebuttal of the presumption.
Right.
Okay. So, okay, any of you guys have more questions? Because I do.
It doesn't show the wetlands on the plan,
Yeah.
but it's at least 40 feet beyond the property line based on the
Yeah.
survey that they did have done.
So, with this building certification plan, was this the plan you created for the building permit?
Yes.
Okay, because.
Well, no, I'm sorry. This is part of the process, and then the rest is this here.
Okay, now, but my concern, because a lot of times we have the case where the homeowner, a subsequent homeowner or subsequent person wants to do something else on this lot. They look at this plan. This plan here does not show the wetlands buffer, the edge of the buffer.
Okay.
Okay, and we really like that, having it very, very clearly, so if you're saying it's, well, on that the back of the house here, where it says 48.3, is that the back of the house on the other plan? Or is this existing?
That's the house itself's measurements, 48.3.
So the existing deck and sunroom go beyond the edge of the house and may already be partially in the buffer zone?
It already is. There's further than, when we're finished, we're gonna be 6 feet less into the buffer zone than it currently is.
So you'll be pulling back from the buffer zone,
Yes, by 6 feet.
less into the buffer zone?
But this
Okay.
plan here doesn't show what exists today.
Right. So,
It shows you where it's lined out.
Right, but you also have this existing area that supports, that's gonna be raised your sunroom or
Right, that's gonna be.
whatever, that's not
a
on
deck
this
that's gonna be
plan.
Right, yeah,
raised.
so-
Oh, it's not on that?
no, but I think, so with what's going to be the plan of record for this, we would want the buffer zone shown. You know,
Kinda like what we said before, for Dana Drive that we just did tonight.
Yep.
That we wanted to see the whole thing on a plan that we could, with the wetlands and stuff referenced. So couldn't they just modify this one?
In terms
I
of,
did modify one, I did it myself.
okay,
It doesn't show the deck.
yeah.
No, but it could, I mean,
Have to
at least
he'd
it
have to
shows
put-
100, it shows this 100-foot
Right.
wetland buffer zone.
Yeah.
But it would,
But
so
this
what
one
you're
doesn't show
saying
the
is-
buffer zone.
No, it doesn't.
So
It's
what
so
you're-
little in the buffer.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Yeah, but, so what you're saying is, on the the earlier plan, which has the edge of the buffer zone,
Yeah.
is mark up that to show where the existing sunroom and deck are that are gonna be removed, and in a different color or whatever, show what's now being proposed, so that we can see what's there. And,
That's what this, this.
yeah, but that doesn't have.
That doesn't show the
It doesn't-
100-foot wetland buffer line, which is.
Okay, you don't have a wetlands buffer
Yeah.
line in there, right?
Yeah, you don't have a wetland
It
buffer.
shows
There's no buffer line on
existing.
this one, yeah.
Yeah.
It
and-
shows existing.
What would be nice if, I think that the value of adding it to the previous plan is you've got a plan that shows where the well is, where the limit of the buffer zone is. There's a lot of information there that's important about the site, that if you layer on top of it where the existing sunroom and deck are that are gonna be removed, and what's going to be put there in its place, then you've got one plan that's got all the information somebody needs in the future.
I would say that that's what this one says. I mean, right here, it's saying,
The buffer zone's not shown here.
The buffer zone's not
buffer
shown.
zone's not in there, that's.
Erosion control's not in there.
Drawn,
The west-
drawn in.
I mean, what Margaret's saying is use this
Yes,
one.
but because that one has all, that has
all
the
the other
detail,
information,
it
yeah.
has the wells, it has the buffer zone,
Yeah, that's the septic plan.
right, and you could, but you,
Somebody
You
else's
could just
plan,
shade it,
not-
have two
oh,
different.
but you're saying it's not,
It's somebody else's plan. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think
a
he can
septic
just
plan.
add to
oh,
it.
it's,
Oh,
That's what
Okay, so you don't have the catch.
Matt used to, when we first started this, that's what how he showed me that we were in the
okay. The buffer
in the
zone.
buffer zone.
okay.
Then we definitely need a better plan.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I don't know if anything else is missing from here.
The buffer zone is where you would put, if you're putting down erosion control, just in case of a huge rainstorm.
That's designated that we are.
Yeah, but we'd want to see where it is on the plan,
Okay.
okay?
Are there any trees or anything like that that in 5 years are going to be asked to cut down that are leaning towards the proposed deck area or anything like that? Is there a tree line on here?
They're about 40 feet away. So by the time we're done, I mean, like I said, anything that you have now, everything is less than there is now.
But-
So everything is 6 feet closer.
But what we tend to ask is, when there's a project like this, if somebody's got a tree that's kind of close to their house or it's starting to lean, that was the
You
time.
might want to be thinking about it now.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
if there was something
I'll take 'em
leaning,
now.
now's the
Yeah.
time to
Do it
have the
within
conversation.
this,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
context.
Yeah, but we're just asking the question, and it just,
Yeah.
because sometimes people don't think of it till later,
Yep.
so, okay. So this is a condition, this is a RDA, so we would want to see an updated plan before we issue. So do we have any other questions, other than seeing an updated plan? With all,
No,
Okay.
I'm fine, just,
Sierra, do you have anything?
No, just I tried really hard to look into whether Gilson Brook was, legit and actually back there, and it was really hard to find out. It was on no past plans, it was not on the septic plan, it was not on their order of conditions from, the
got
90s
missed.
or whatever.
Okay.
So every single person over multiple years has missed that if it is there.
Okay.
Everyone has missed it over decades. So I'm not sure, it could be perennial, it could be back there, I really don't, I can't find
Okay.
out.
I couldn't find a designation on it either. I looked,
Yeah, I can't.
No.
As far as timing goes, they should know that they can't start until
I
April
would assume
1st.
Matt had looked at it also,
Yeah.
too.
Okay. But actually, yes, one of the other things is, that we have
That's only for orders.
that's only for order of conditions,
Oh,
not for a
okay.
request for determination of
Oh, I
applicability.
see, yeah, if it doesn't.
Okay. But before I forget, are there any members of the audience who have comments or questions on this project? Okay, so we want to see an updated plan with the buffer zone, where you would put the erosion control. So I would say at this point, we would want to continue it to January 8th, just to give you,
The distances off the proposed addition and deck should show the distances to the wetland
okay.
boundary,
So,
not just the property boundary.
so what we would want to see is the closest distance to the wetland. Okay.
We're not really interested in the distances to property lines, that's planning board and others, but we want to know the distance.
Actually, I'm just, I'm a little confused. This is almost like a repair. When we're ending up encroaching into the buffer zone by 6 feet less, it's,
Well, you can't even see it on here, it's not shown.
what's that?
yeah, I have no way to know
No
that
buffer
on this
zone on
plan.
here.
There's no plan that shows the sunroom and the deck.
Right.
It's been permitted.
But,
The
yes,
town permitted in
yeah, and we're
1999.
not saying that they're not, but a lot of this is, as these dwellings go forward and people do stuff, they go back to the most recent plan to get their information, and what we're saying is there is no plan that shows, that provides that baseline picture of what the site's gonna look like, that the next person wanting to do work can say, okay, this is what's here, and now this is where I use this to make my next plan.
Could you, whatever you need, could you put it in writing? So
Yeah.
I can't, there's no way you're gonna have it by the 8th.
Of
Surveyors
January?
are so busy.
Oh, no,
We're talking January.
The 8th of January?
do we need a survey plan, or just, well,
Our
I
next
don't know what the
meeting.
process is for copying a wetland line from one to the other.
no,
I
but,
don't know.
but what we're just saying is, I think we're not proposing that instead of putting your construction details on the board of the septic plan, I think, if I'm hearing the commission correctly, we just want you to take the plan this plan that you showed us and get the,
Added.
get the
100-foot.
100-foot buffer
Drawn in?
drawn in,
Okay.
okay? And then,
Can I draw that in, or do you need the
No, you
surveyor?
could-
Because I know exactly where it is.
okay, if you've got this plan, we okay with him hand drawing it in?
Yes.
If the
Or-
person who originally
Actually did
made
it
the
on
plan
one.
is
We know
okay
the
with that,
distance.
because
Okay.
they have a stamp on it.
Okay, so the person who originally made the plan, if they're okay with
Yeah, who's-
getting the location of the buffer zone edge added
Okay.
to that plan, in terms of,
Can we get him? Yeah, all right. Yeah, we can.
in terms of
Put it.
figuring out, you're thinking surveyor because of determining the closest point of distance. Oh, you know what? If they can also put the 75-foot or the 55-foot, so that we have our setbacks shown on the plan, then do we need the closest distance? Would that be, so if we showed the 100-foot, and then they also put where the 75-foot is, so then it's very clear that what's being done is beyond, do we really need?
Do you need that?
Do we,
I don't know if you need it, if you have the 100 in there and,
but we had, one of the things we had asked for is the closest distance to the wetland, and I think that's where they may need to get a surveyor to figure that out. Is that something that we really need on this one?
God, what's his closest point's gonna not even be
it's gonna be
80.
95 or
It's gonna be
something.
like 90 something.
So if we
I'm
just-
saying no.
I
So
don't
if we
think so
just,
either.
so if we just put the 100-foot buffer on, that's all?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if the building certificate plan gets updated to show the edge of the 100-foot
Draw the
buffer,
100-foot buffer and
that's
where.
all we need.
And where we want the
And the erosion control.
erosion control.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be sufficient for this plan.
Did you want to go for the 20th or the 8th? There's 2 meetings next month.
22nd?
22nd.
22nd.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to January 22nd, 2025? Can I have a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're moving on to 7:45 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for Seal Harbor LLC, 427 and 429 Groton Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, at 7:45 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Mark Gallagher, Seal Harbor LLC, for installation of a rain garden, 2 dry wells, and an 11,544 square foot restoration area within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and 200 feet of Blue Brook, and removal of a septic system and installation of a new septic system and construction of a single-family dwelling, including associated driveway, retaining walls, and utilities within 200 feet of Blue Brook at 427 and 429 Groton Road.
Good evening, Matt Waterman with Land Tech Consultants for the record. Here with me tonight is Mark Gallagher with Seal Harbor LLC. Thank you for coming out in the rain event tonight and hope everyone's having a good holiday season. We're here for lots 4 and 5. It's a notice of intent application. It's a new application. I think we were at the last meeting where we had kind of discussed an amendment and pushed it to a new application just to make sure we had everything in order with Riverfront and all the activities associated within the 200-foot of Blue Brook. It's 427, 429 Groton Road. If anyone's driven down Groton Road, they're, both lots are under construction or have activities going on under the previous notice of intent. They're designated as lots 4 and 5. We do have active stormwater management permit amended with the plan that is here tonight, engineering approval and planning board approval. Lot 4 is the one that's the house that's off further to the right on our plan. The majority of the work is just associated within the riverfront, and it's just the driveway and that small rain garden, some stormwater towards the, as you get close to Groton Road, which on our plan, Groton Road goes across the top of the plan. And Blue Brook is off to the left.
Matt, is this the stone house?
Yes. No, that's the new lot 4. The stone house is not shaded and it's actually in white, not shaded.
Oh, it's that right there. Okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. It should be shaded. That's a drafting thing. But that is the existing house, so that, I'm
Okay.
sure everyone's familiar with the house on Route 40. Lot 5 is the stone house. It's primarily a redevelopment with a new dwelling. Behind it, the stone house stays intact, becomes an art studio. It does have a septic system connection. I know that was one of the comments that were forwarded to us from Sierra, thank you. The existing out there is, it's currently vegetation around that stone house, lawn area, kind of residential, and then the remaining parts are wooded and wetlands. Resource areas bordering vegetated wetland, river associated with Blue Brook, and actually there's a new floodplain. We'll get into that in a second. Not natural heritage, not certified vernal pools, not zoned to the wetlands, and the riverfront were flagged by B&C Associates back in March of this year. So they are updated. The proposed Lot 4, like I said, the majority of the work is just within the riverfront. Lot 5, there is buffer zone work and riverfront work. Majority of the work in the buffer zone is that restoration area, which I'm sure everyone remembers. That's this double hatched line. We did try to increase that from previous reiterations. That's about 11,500 square feet of restoration. It does fully restore the 100-foot riverfront buffer and extends into the 200-foot riverfront buffer. But the goal was focusing as much of that buffer zone along Blue Brook that we could restore. The minor clearing is just associated with the septic system down in this lower right corner. So there is a little bit of new clearing down in this area just for the septic, right behind Jim. Sorry, Jim, you're in a bad spot for the monitor. But and with the dwelling, we did try to reduce and move the dwelling as far away from the river as possible. We do reduce the total degraded area within the riverfront area, which degraded area, as you remember from our last meeting, is anything that's impervious driveways or buildings. And with this development, even by extending the driveway a little bit, we reconfigure it such there's still a reduction in that degraded area from just over 10,000 square feet to just under 9,000 square feet, or roughly we reduce it by 1,150 square feet. DEP issued a file number 3341867. They did have some comments. The first couple were just kind of clarification, labeling things correctly on the plan. The flagging date in the report didn't match the plan date. We'll certainly correct that. Label the 200-foot riverfront area. I know one of the comments from the commission members was clearly label the erosion control, which is along that limit of work. So we will certainly do that. It's the line with the dots in it along the edge of the restoration area. But then there was one comment from DEP. They want us to show the 2023 floodplain line. Now, the 2023 floodplain line is not available on FEMA yet, so we were using what was available on FEMA, the 2010. I knew there was a 2023 out there. I didn't know it was approved or being used because we used what was available on FEMA. I did check the 2023. Lo and behold, Blue Brook now has a floodplain. Blue Brook did not have a floodplain before. It doesn't impact what we're doing. It actually, I overlaid it. I couldn't get a data layer to insert it from like the GIS where we get their data layers. But I did take the image, brought it in, scaled it in really well, and it almost mimics the Dave Crossman's wetland line to a T. Like it's exact. It's amazing. So there is a new resource area, but we're not changing anything in the floodplain. We're not modifying any work in the floodplain. So I'd leave it up to the commission. I think with DEP kind of asking for the 2023, we would show it, but I don't think that's something that we've been showing on any of our plans recently.
I mean, technically you can or probably should use the most up-to-date data, and even though it's not formally published, we've had multiple people use that new data.
Okay.
So
we'd be happy to show it. I just wasn't sure if it was still in because there was a trial period where they were soliciting comments, and I assume it's over. I just hadn't known that it was published, so we will be sure to show it though. Otherwise, we don't have anything else to talk about or bring up. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yeah. Do you have any, other than the FEMA information, do you have anything?
And we'll certainly revise the plan to address DEP's comments and label the erosion control line.
almost said.
Okay, any comments or questions from members of the audience? So you're gonna get us an updated plan. This is not going in any way, so for this new DEP file number, we can basically take the special conditions from the prior plan and just put them over?
Yeah, and I'd leave it up to the commission. We could certainly request a certificate of compliance after the issue, or we can just wait till the end and ask for both of them. I would leave it up to the commission on procedurally how we did close out the first one. We don't have a preference.
Should we leave it to Matt?
We should ask Matt. This is certainly the first time I've seen this type of situation, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so,
We could certainly close, like, once the other one's issued, we could come back the following
Well-
meeting and just kind of close it out. or-
so you're gonna be getting us an updated plan, so we would continue this to January 8th when we would, issue the special conditions for this new DEP file
Yep.
number. And at that point, we'll have Matt back with us, and he can, you know, if he's got thoughts on how we handle the certificate of compliance, for the two projects,
We
we can
could
make
either
that
have it
decision.
for the 8th or be prepared to talk about it, either way.
Okay,
I actually did have another question, sorry.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, so you guys still have an amended order that's open with us? Were you planning to
We
withdraw that?
can withdraw that, yes, certainly. We will
Okay.
do that.
okay.
I
Definitely
forgot
do
about
that for the 8th?
Yes,
Yeah,
we'll
because
do
it is
that
on the 8th, because it was
tomorrow.
continued to the 8th.
We'll
so we don't
withdraw
wanna-
it tomorrow. I'll send you some
Okay.
documentation. I did forget about that. I apologize.
Okay, so we're set to continue to January 8th? I have a motion to continue the public hearing to January 8th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How is January 8th looking right now? Looking
Bad.
right up? Right. So you might just want to consider, you know, after at some point, you know, pushing
Go to
things
next-
off to the
Yes.
22nd.
Yeah, I agree.
Or we're gonna have another 11:30.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then if we keep pushing stuff.
And we've said that in the past. We try to accommodate, but, you know, if
Well, and it's,
when our January 8th fills, then we start filling up the 22nd.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, man.
Yep. Okay, let's do, okay, so let's move on to our 7:55 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for OR 132 Main Street.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, at 7:55 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Ryan Ord for removal of an existing barn, a portion of which is within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands and 200 feet of a perennial stream at 132 Main Street.
Good evening, board members. I'm Joe Cataldo. My son and I are building the house at 132 Main Street, and our buyer has requested that we remove the barn that is shown in this area here. We would like to request your permission to do that work. The good thing is, there is presently erosion controls along this line, and as well as right across the face of the barn. I did submit a drawing that shows an additional line of, okay, thank you, Sierra. This row of straw wattles that we would put in to basically encapsulate that area. We feel that we don't have to go into, and all of this area is all vegetated at this time, all established. We would not have to go outside of the footprint of the barn to demolish and remove it. This piece right here is an open shed. There's just one post right there. So when we remove that shed, I think that's the area, when Mr. Hicks had his horses there, that would go in that area for undercover. So once we remove that, that's just horse manure and dirt that we don't have to disturb. There is a concrete block foundation here, and then there is a poured concrete foundation along here. We would remove all of that once we remove the construction materials, and then we would spread loam in that area, plant upland wetland seeds, and then blanket that with a straw blanket. And we can certainly do that work without any impact of any of the surrounding wetland area.
Any comments or questions from members of the commission?
On the, on one of the plans, there's a wall right here. Is that coming down too?
That wall, I'm sorry, I pushed the wrong button.
I think that's outside.
That wall, I think, was existing, shown as existing when the garage was there. I think that you might just be seeing a layer, but there's no wall there at the present time.
Okay. Sierra, did you have?
See what you're looking at, it looks like something.
It says retaining RET walls. but-
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I think it's outside the buffer zones, though?
It is, yep.
Yeah, okay. So I think we had discussed this briefly prior to the meeting, where you were planning to, like, restore that with a native seed mix type of
Yes.
thing, as opposed to
Yes.
lawn?
Yes, that's correct. So all of that area, board members, at the present time, this is all in a no disturb meadow area, and we do not, that will not be mowed. As a matter of fact, when we developed Lot 4, there's a berm that we built over in here, and Matt asked us to put do not disturb signs within the wetlands, even though we also demarked the wetlands along the 100-foot buffer zone line, which I
Oh,
think
the
it...
conservation posts?
Yes, yes.
But there were no conservation posts for this site?
No, because we haven't completed the house itself. There is one post, I believe, right in this area.
Okay.
But right now, at the present time, if you went up there, you would see that there's a line of, the grade actually rises up, and then it falls back down on the back side of this that we have not excavated at all. That's the 100-foot setback line right there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's not the 100-foot setback line. That's the line where the erosion control is presently in place.
I think that might be the 200-foot
It's a 200.
river.
Sorry, I get my...
I know I have another plan
My-
here somewhere. Too many lines on this plan, that's why I included a bunch of plans.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, so on this one, I think it's actually labeled.
Okay.
Yeah, 200-foot outer riparian is this
Okay.
one.
But I do believe that this line, Sierra, if I get the right button, I believe that's my
Yeah, it's
erosion control line as well.
Yeah, we see the ECs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was confusing that with the other line, sorry.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, are you using any equipment? How are you getting things out?
We'll use a hydraulic excavator, we'll go right in here.
Yeah.
And stay with inside of the barn. We'll actually take this front wall down first. We'll walk inside and try to reach as much of this as possible and not disturb any of this surrounding area, which is already presently vegetated. And then we'll basically back our way out, loam it, seed it, and then blanket it with a straw mat.
Have you written any conditions for the determination?
That the area where the barn is removed should be restored with native seed mix, but I also, I forgot, I was gonna include like an erosion control condition as well, per the plan, if the commission would like that.
So, yeah, I think erosion controls are always better. So can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination of applicability?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you. My next request would be to do this work inside the timeframe of December 1st to April 15th. It would only take us, it will take us a day to demolish the barn and a day to restore the area.
So typically what we would do is, when were you planning on doing the work?
Well,
Because we would say, hey, you know,
but this is an RDA, and it doesn't have those limitations, but he
Okay.
does have an order of conditions on the site, so it's kind of like,
I
yeah,
mean, that,
normally-
yeah, normally we'd say,
don't
we
know.
give him a month or whatever, and if he wanted to work
Oh, okay.
more,
Oh.
you know, that's why I was asking you, when were you thinking of doing it?
Soon. within,
Actually, we need it in writing, right?
Yeah.
Can you give them a piece of paper, and if you just write down,
sure,
make their,
sorry.
give a written request, and then we can do it now?
Something like
simple this
January
is.
or December 1st to January
31st?
31st
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, from December 1st to January 31st. Oh, this, and there's nothing here that gives me the DEP phone number for the work that does have the order conditions. No, okay, I'll just link it to, the address, 132 Main Street.
The order of conditions would have been under, it was probably all 124, but it was probably before they all got divided up, so, I don't think that the order is gonna specifically say 132 Main Street anyway.
So, if I may, I am requesting to work at 132 Main Street to restore the barn area within the next 30 days?
Well, just say between December 1st and January 31st.
Okay.
Because that's how we will, that's how we would give specific dates.
And that way, if you didn't do it by the 31st, then you'd come in and say, I'd like to
Okay.
work between
You can
the
come back on the-
31st and,
Yeah, you could come back on our January 22nd meeting and say, you know, weather's been really bad, I need another 2 weeks or whatever, and we could extend the period at that point.
So I'm requesting to work at 132 Main Street to restore the barn area between December 1st and January 31st.
It's demolish and remove, right? Not
Yeah, demolish and
Yeah, demolish and remove instead of.
remove and renaturalize the barn location.
man, this guy's gonna have to write a book,
Not a very good author, sir.
I'm telling you. Well, you're a lefty, so you're in your right mind.
I don't know about that. Requesting.
Put the year on there, 2025.
To demolish and restore
We could get the DEP phone number off the, can we get it from, if you went to GIS and then did the property look up for 132, would that also, with the,
I think the easiest thing to do is go into our files. I just hate to do
Okay.
this at a meeting.
Sorry to be holding the applicants up behind me.
actually, you know what, well, you're writing it because,
I can just,
no, so what, I said at 9 o'clock, if we still had a long lot on the agenda to do, we were gonna take a 5-minute break, so why don't we take a, while you're finishing writing that, we
Take
can
a
take a
5-minute
5-minute break, anybody who needs to step out, stretch their legs or do whatever,
Or
you
get
can do
goodies if
that.
they're still left.
Huh?
Or get goodies if it's still left.
And, yeah, get goodies, whatever, but yeah.
That's just a lot.
just to make sure I'm clear, I am requesting to demolish and restore the barn area located at 132 Main Street between December 1st to January 31st.
Correct.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're just kinda,
Can you get mine?
been 2 hours and we probably got another 2 to go, so.
Nicole, I think I'll take you up on the driving. For what
Did you
Jenny
wanna?
said.
Yes, I'm gonna step out for 5 minutes. I was just trying to figure out which. Oh, sure.
I don't care about the gas.
Well, no, better for
I
the
care about
environment.
arriving alive.
Yeah, you just need
Yeah, so,
I've done this.
you know what, get yourself something to eat.
Combination
We're,
of
we're taking a short break.
traffic.
When we come back from the break, we'll do the vote, and then you'll be all set.
Oh, everywhere.
Thank you.
When I'm on the highway, it's like you're kidding. When I go to the store,
Oh, Jim's fault.
oh, Jim, yeah, right. That people are driving like jerks. Yeah. Much worse in the last couple of years, don't you
No
think?
rush anymore. When you get to work, you know when you get to go. It's great.
You're retired?
It's great. It is.
When I go up to the store, you know, I'm doing 75. And they're flipping, whining.
I'm in that right-hand lane.
So I did the same thing. But sometimes I have someone on my, because they think they can do it there. I mean, I'm fine because I can see, it's daylight, you know. Tonight was wicked seeing it all for me.
What you had reached out to me, your concern, about what we spoke about. Yeah. It was more physical rather than emotional. So, yeah. Yeah, so.
Whatever it is, address it.
Yeah, well, part of it is, that's why we're taking the 5-minute break.
Oh, okay.
But I think we could all use it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm standing.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm just gonna have to, when she comes back, get everybody else back.
I have not been here since it was finished.
I've always had a success by doing that now. Oh, very nice. Because I did, I'm very careless.
Actually, I see chocolate.
Thank you. Once you get ready.
Yeah.
So it's all working out?
Drank the 6 o'clock coffee before I got here.
Yeah.
Still got
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start pulling people back.
Thank you.
So that means in May.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's a fake stone, it's not, because I don't believe in fakes.
Ask for that.
Fake stone. No, you didn't make that.
See, I would never have noticed.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Oh,
Sierra's engaged.
she's engaged.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
We'll attack the agenda with renewed vigor.
yeah, so,
Whole new night.
so now, can I have a motion, to.
Move the request for working in
Approve the
January to remove the barn and rent
Can
restricted
I have a
area.
motion to approve the request to demolish and restore the barn area located at 132 Main Street, associated with the DEP file number that, for the 124 Main Street project, the work to be performed between December 1st and January 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
You too.
Good night.
Okay, moving on to our 8 PM our 8 PM agenda item, a public hearing for Santoro 1 Mark Vincent Drive and 0 Griffin Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, at 8 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Philip Santoro for removal of 9 trees within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands and bordering land subject to flooding within 200 feet of a perennial stream at 1 Mark Vincent Drive and 0 Griffin Road.
Good evening.
I can only tell you that I'm not an arborist. That's why we had him come in to tell you the problem with the, under the dirt.
Can you tell us who you are?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My name is Philip Santorum, 1 Mark Fisson Drive, here in Westford.
Okay. So, the request is to remove, 9 trees because they are leaning towards the house and they are also damaged. You had a very thorough arborist report. I don't know if you
Correct.
had a chance to read it in the packet.
2-page report?
Yeah. And then the pictures as well. Okay. So, do any members of the commission have comments or questions?
Is there a replanting plan for this? Generally, when we have someone take out a tree, they replace
I'll
it
be,
with.
I'll be glad to plant some more.
And they don't have to be white pines. You can choose something else that's not gonna grow as tall.
I'll be glad to do whatever's required, as long as these come down.
Okay. Noel?
And we can cut, or he can cut them, have them cut to like 10,
Well,
8
and-
feet to 10, right?
And that was, so some of what we ask for is, especially the trees closest to the wetland, if you leave, if marquee tree leaves a 10-foot length of stump to be wildlife habitat, we would ask for some of them to be left that way. I think the ones that are really leaning, it would make sense to take it off to the ground.
Right.
But if there are some that are farther from the house and they're standing tall, to leave a portion of the trunk in place so that, for example, that's something where the woodpeckers can go after and stuff like that.
To do that, how many feet would you like? How tall do you want to
About
leave
10,
it?
10 to
Yeah,
15.
To 10, we say.
leave-
Or leave it to a marquee to determine?
With marquee, well, we like it to be about 10.
About 10
Yeah,
feet. Okay.
okay. Did you have anything?
No.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience? So, because of the asking for replanting of native trees and leaving standing butt logs, did you have those written into the conditions?
I do, but I wanted to double check. Are we asking for 9 native tree plantings, and then how many did we want left as standing snags?
Without a plan, it's kind of hard to tell which ones you want to, even for him, to which ones you want to have him, leave 10 feet and which ones you're going to let him cut off at the base. Right now, it seems like we're having that discussion, but how does that get translated to the tree cutter? I mean, on this one, I can see the ones that are real close to the house, and you're saying, the ones that are more distant look like they're closer. The ones, these first 2 that seem to be in the woods.
Look at some of the other pictures. Well, because part of, when I was looking at this, my thought was that if the tree is basically growing up next to the lawn or in the lawn, take that down to the ground, plant a replacement. Where the trees off to the right here, ones where the tree itself is more growing at the edge of the woods, leave those as a standing butt logs. And I don't, yeah, I mean.
So how do you're gonna go out and mark it? We need some way to.
How to
do
make
that.
it.
Someone needs to
I
do
know what
that.
you're saying.
Okay. The plan, Sierra, there was a GIS plan that.
Yes.
With those that had gray dots on it, are those gray dots, do those represent trees or is that stone wall or something?
Are those the 9
So
trees?
those were, that's,
Trees.
yeah, he had marked the
Okay.
trees on them.
Okay, so yeah, that doesn't,
The other thing was, they called it included bark, so the ones where, there's only bark holding them together, those you might want to make sure that it's, addressed properly.
what does
You
it
saying?
properly mean?
So there's something, one of the pictures showed
In the report, it
included bark
shows
at
it
the
like a
bottom.
Bifurcated.
tree where the bark is incorporated down below where the trees have joined together, and that's particularly bad. But, if you're cutting just an 8 or 10 foot stump, leaving it shouldn't really matter.
Who's doing this work for?
Marquee.
Do you think that they would be aware if you decided to just say, at least X number must be left as butt lugs? Like, would they have the expertise to then decide which ones were most
Or
appropriate
could they
to
stop
leave
by
that
and
way?
visit you?
Well, and I'm thinking, is 2 or 3 butt logs sufficient? And then the rest of the.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's fine.
That's enough.
So,
That's
so
enough.
it sounds like they've got a really good arborist. So if we say we want 2 to 3 standing butt logs, it's potentially the arborist, talking, you and the arborist talking about which 3 it makes the most
Sense to do that
to
with.
leave them as a 10-foot standing stump. So I think as long as we get that many, you and the arborist can figure out which ones it
Which
makes
one to
most
leave.
sense to do that with.
And then let us know what he's gonna,
And then, yes,
what he's gonna use to replant,
Yes.
whatever native it's gonna be.
whatever you decide to plant in its place next spring, let Sierra know what you plan to plant.
We can do that.
Okay,
That's it.
is that enough?
Yeah, so, sorry, did you end up settling on at least 2 or at least 3?
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Yeah, and, and some of this is, there's a really knowledgeable arborist, he can probably say, okay, yes, these are the ones that makes most sense, or whatever. A little discretion.
I was gonna say, if she just put it in a paragraph, he could bring it to the arborist.
Well, I think you're actually put it in the
Yeah, all right.
conditions.
In this order.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I certainly can put it in the condition, I just don't know
Okay,
how else
that
we would be able to, specify specific trees.
Well, the arborist did a really good job on the report, so yeah, I think he,
Okay.
if he understands what our intention is, he can make
Sounds
the
pretty simple.
recommendations of which 3.
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
he'll make a choice.
Can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination of applicability, which is a good thing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close a public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You're all
So Sierra will be in touch about the paperwork.
In the next couple of days, I'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay. If you haven't had something, take some of the refreshment.
Yes, please, feel free to take some cookies or fruit or something.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Moving on to our 8:05 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for Patel, 8 Di Donato Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, at 8:05 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Pratish Patel for trimming and or removal of up to 6 pine trees within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 8 Donato Drive.
Hi, my name is Pratish Patel. I'm from 8 Donato Drive in Westford. Recently moved into town, and before I begin, I want to thank Sierra for all the assistance she has provided. She was very helpful for me to be here today, so thank you. So, like I said, I recently moved in, and it's a new construction, and I'm in a cul-de-sac house, and I have 2 young children, and there are many trees around my houses. However, there are 6 trees that are very dangerous for close to, as you can see in the picture, they're close to houses, and they're so tall, and my kids not even sleeping in their bedroom since we moved in, just because they're so scared that if tree falls, what happens. So I'm requesting a permission to trim down the branches and hopefully cut down a little bit, so that way, weather like today, it's very windy, it doesn't affect for the future if ever storm comes in. So I just need a permission to trim down the branches, and then, when I had one of the tree removal guy came to look at my plant, 6 trees that I proposed him, but looking at the plant, he asked me to see if I could get a permit up to 10. But I said 6 are the most dangerous, and if I get a permit for another 4, I like to do that. If not, then at least 6. And whatever I cut down or trim down, I like to replant trees around it.
So these trees that you want to take down are right here, right? Where
So
the yellow
there's,
line is?
there are 3 trees on the right-hand side, actually 4 trees on the right-hand side and 2 trees on the left-hand side.
Yeah, you want to use the laser pointer there.
Sure.
and the
Orange
yellow
button.
All right, okay.
There we go.
And I didn't know, but I did have more pictures in my laptop. I didn't know if I had a chance to do it, but so there are 4 trees on this side.
So.
Actually, sorry, I'll take that
Yep.
back. Yeah, because I'm looking up it. So there are 4 trees on this side, and then 2 trees on this side. And this is where the bedroom is. This is my kid's bedroom, and this is my bedroom. So basically, it's just facing right on the bedrooms.
So he's got to be talking about within, so I see the ones up there, and the ones below got to be in that wood, at the edge of that wooded area.
So let's deal with the 2 sides of the house separately.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with the side, because that's the buffer zone to the vernal pool as well.
And you said you wanted to take down how many on that side?
4 on this side. And I'm not completely taking it down. I just like to trim it down, take the branches off.
But if you take the top off, it'll actually kill the tree
Okay.
with the white pines.
Yeah.
Because when my tree remover guy came to me, he said if I were to take it maybe top 25 feet or something, at least because I'm taking the weight of the top of the weight. So he said,
He's leaving butt logs.
yeah.
So did the tree person tell you how tall the trees are?
No, he did not, but if I had to guess, Sierra, would you say 75 to 100 feet?
Maybe. I'm terrible at estimating that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
That's
to be
a really
honest, so I
tall
don't
butt
wanna-
log.
I would, I mean, he
80
didn't tell me, but if
No,
I
I
had
see,
to,
that's the full size of the tree, and then he's gonna cut
If he's cutting
25 feet off or something like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's your,
That's another, you know, if it's a 50-foot tree, then he's cutting 25 off, he's leaving 25, that's leaving a lot of tree.
And then it's a dead tree, and then it still
more of a
poses a
threat.
threat, and is still
Yeah,
close enough to
still
the
gonna-
house that it could hit the house, so I would say.
I mean,
it's
I don't mind taking it down. It's just that I thought I would get a permission to trim it down than taking it down. If I had to take it down, no problem, but, you know,
Well-
it's all up to commission.
because we're dealing with the buffer zone to a vernal pool, so there are, I'm sorry, I'm talking my muffle. What I'm thinking is the developer cleared to the edge of the buffer zone.
Did this come before us?
Yes, it did.
Not too long ago.
This is new construction, right?
Yeah,
It
it
is new
was,
construction.
within
It's
the
off
last
of
12
40, yeah.
months. Jim?
Are there obvious conservation resource area signs? It's supposed to, in the area where we're talking about
Yeah.
cutting, there's 2 of them that are supposed to be there. The little triangles with the dots, those are wetland resource area signs. Are they there?
Yeah.
And are
Those are the
sign-
2, the 2 little plaques we saw
Now,
on
the
the trees
trees
out
that
there,
we're
yeah.
proposing cutting on the vernal pool side or the house side of those markers?
Were those markers on trees or on posts?
On trees.
We're on trees.
Are they on the, so are they on the trees we're planning to take, that are requested to be removed?
I don't think so.
No.
I think they're on they're like further up, like near the street as opposed to right next to the house
Exactly,
where the.
Okay.
Do you want me
Oh, I
to
see
use-
what you're saying, there's
Yes.
2 there.
But
Oh,
yes.
I actually don't know if I saw those 2. I saw the 2 that were closer to like the road area. I
And
don't
I-
recall
Oh, you
if
mean
I
the
saw
one over by
those.
the SF?
I'm seeing those 2,
Yeah.
yeah, the one at the actual buffer.
Those
2.
resource area signage goes all the way around the house. And I'm just wondering if these trees that we're considering are inside or outside those markers.
Yeah.
So I guess it's inside of, close to my house.
So,
They're on the house side.
Yeah, it's on the house side.
so there's the trees closer to your house, and then there's the trees with the placards on them.
No, yes, correct, yes.
Okay.
To your point.
All right.
Okay.
I'm okay with cutting.
Definitely.
In terms of what we would want to see planted as replacements, because this is on the south side of the vernal pool, or this is to the south, more to the south or the east?
South.
Because I think Eric, if I'm correct, that we'd want something planted there that would grow tall, because that would help to shade. Or,
Yeah, but he's got a lot of other of the same trees right there, so if he's only taken down 3 or 4 spindly pines right there, he's still got,
the edge trees?
he's still got
well,
all
he's
those
got
other edge trees there.
So this is where he's taking out 6.
Yeah, but I'm looking at stuff like that, so he's got stuff behind it as well.
Okay.
And the more you
Yeah.
take off, the more susceptible those other trees are gonna be to fall.
Yeah, but I don't know how much more is behind this. It looks like there's an awful lot, so if he
There
takes
are a
4,
lot.
there's gonna be a whole heck of a lot behind it.
There are a lot, but these 4 are these 4 are huge. So if
4 or 6?
well, 4 on this side and
So
2.
right now, first, we're only gonna talk about the 6. We wanna kind of deal with the
Okay.
2 sides of the house separately.
Yeah, so let's continue to work on this side.
So we're talking about the 6 at this point.
Right?
Yes.
No, we're talking about 6 where the yellow is.
No, there's 4 with
4 on the yellow
The
side.
yellow is.
I mistakenly did not label the other side of this when I just put
Okay,
a
so
highlight on
are
it.
the
so I
6 on the
apologize.
other side?
No, there's 4 on this side.
Oh.
Only 4.
Okay.
And then the 2 on other side.
Oh, so.
So 6
Okay, so
total.
it's 6
Yeah.
total, not 6?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's 4 here,
Yes.
and,
How wide, what's the diameter of these, circumference?
Pretty spindly.
God,
How
they
big are
look
they?
spindly.
Yep.
This one actually looks pretty big.
They're pretty big.
Like, what's the, how big?
How big? If I had to pick guess, it would be about this big.
That's like more than 2 feet. They're almost 3 feet.
They don't look it in this picture.
It looks like
Well,
birch
if you look at the
trees, honest to
bottom.
God.
I mean, I do have more pictures. I
believe
thought
you.
I would have access to more pictures here, so I brought my laptop. But I don't.
It's got plenty of trees.
There are plenty of trees. It's just that right on the bedroom, those are the 2
No,
tallest.
I know, but I'm
Like,
thinking
yeah,
in
this,
terms of,
okay.
yeah, this
I
is
think-
one
Yeah.
of them.
I think you just cut them.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you need
would
a
just
plan.
say,
If there's gonna be mold coming down like in 5 years, you
Well-
wanna think about it now, right?
Yeah, but one of the things to remember is because you've got trees and trees and trees, is it's the winds coming from the north that would push them towards the house, and you've got that depth of tree growth that's basically, they're going to
Buffering.
shelter each other from the wind.
yeah, but I don't know if by taking down 4 on one side and 2 on the other, he's created a situation where they're less protected.
Right.
I know what you mean, that you have a few left and they're exposed.
But looking at these, now these pictures are where the 4 trees are,
This picture is the 4 trees, and this picture is the 2 trees. This, yeah. So I'm talking about this tree particularly right here. This
Okay.
is one of them.
It's gonna matter.
Yeah, and
It's
there
about
are.
3 feet around? I mean, 3 feet across diameter?
But look, doesn't look good from here.
I mean, again, they're big. Like I said, I do have more pictures. I don't know if I can show it to you guys, but they're big.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't really have a problem with what he's proposing. Just if you want him to plant something that's gonna provide some more shade and stuff like that, just make it deciduous. Tell him what you want.
I would like to.
okay. Do we want them, okay, are we asking for any butt logs here?
I
Or
don't
do we
think you need to.
Okay, so in this case, what we're talking about is taking out those 4 trees and then replacing them with native deciduous, which would be something like a maple or an oak,
Yep, something leafy.
something leafy, okay? So that's the 4 trees that are outside the conservation markers on that side of the house, and then on the other side of the house, we're talking 2 trees?
2 trees, which are right here.
Okay.
This is one of them.
So Margaret, about the butt logs, it looks like from this, they're about 25 feet from the house.
Okay,
You're just going by the 75 foot and the 100 foot, that distance. So if you were to leave a 10-foot butt log, that would not pose any danger, falling in the house.
what are people's thoughts?
I think you could take it down, though.
Either, I mean, there are plenty of trees around there
Yeah,
too,
there's
so if
so
you don't
many,
leave
I
one,
would
that's
just
fine.
take 'em
Yeah.
down.
I'd say let them take them.
Me too.
And then
And not,
plant,
Yeah,
take
and
them
maybe
with or without a
revisit
butt
it.
log.
without the butt log and have them plant trees.
Okay. Okay, so
agree.
on the north side of the house, take down the 4 trees and plant replacement deciduous trees. And then on the other side of the house, we're looking at
2.
2 trees.
What were your thoughts on the other side of the house?
I'm open to
Suggestion.
suggest.
Do we even need 2 more trees there? Do we even need 2?
I like to, I mean, end of the day, safety is most important, so whatever, I could do to,
Do you
Well-
want to put bush there, or?
But
Bushes sound great.
at
I
that
wouldn't put
point,
trees there.
actually, Sierra, can you get us back to the plot plan?
Oh, yeah.
So we can look at, because I'm,
75 on this one.
yes, but it's also, at this point, the trees that they're looking to take out are on the north side of the tree stand. So in terms of, if you tried to plant replacement things there, they would be shaded by all the other trees, so they may not do as well. Would we want to do the butt logs there?
Or shrub or something
Or
that just
shrubs?
grows in shade.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's plenty of shade shrubs that would grow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with the 2 trees taken out, plant native shrubs,
Or if he wants to put a deciduous there too, but
okay. Well, I'm thinking is if we,
we're giving them the option of shrub on that side.
but, well, yeah, but if the deciduous get shaded, would they grow as well? I'm thinking,
I don't know. I know a lot of plants and trees seem to do okay in shade.
okay.
What would happen if we didn't plant any?
Well, because what I was thinking is something like winterberry or other things that provide wildlife habitat.
Well, you're our botanist, so.
Blueberry bush, you can get
We
pleasure
have a
out
whole
of that.
list of native
Yes.
plants, and you
Yeah,
can
we got
look
a whole
through
list.
those
So there-
specifically. and
So
see.
where the 2 trees come out, we have a list of native shrubs that would provide berries and stuff that would, support the birds and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll gather the list from Sierra and then do whatever it takes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So,
Appreciate your help.
can I have a motion for a conditional
Any
negative?
questions from the
Oh,
audience?
yeah. Any questions from members of the audience? Okay, so you've got the information you need for the conditions about replacements and stuff? Yes. Okay, so can I have a motion for a conditional negative determination of applicability? Negative being good in this case.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You guys have a good
Welcome to
night.
Westford.
You too.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to town.
Thank you, Sierra.
So moving on to our 8:10 PM. There's an order of conditions, compliance, and enforcement order discussion for Yang 88 Tadmuck Road.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Robert Melvin with Stamsky McNary. I'm joined here today with Jonathan Bolin, also of Stamsky McNary. We're here to represent the applicant for 88 Tadmuck Road. Okay, so suppose I'd like to start just by stating how we're hoping to resolve the work that we're proposing in front of you today. And that is that we hope we can get permission from the commission today to allow us to proceed with the corrective work for the septic system as well as the drainage system. And just really quickly, let me get into that. So here we're showing in red the updated property lines that were overlaid onto our original plan. And all of the labels and symbols that are shown in red are all of the corrective work that we're planning to do here. So this starts by trimming line 1 of the leaching field by about 6 feet, line 2 by about 3 feet. And then what we need to do is pull this poly barrier in a little bit. And then what we do is we need to pull the existing drainage manhole, which had consequently been installed into the neighboring property. We're going to need to go in there, get that manhole out of there and bring it onto the subject property. And then we'd have to do some reconfiguring of the piping for that as well. But that is the extent of the corrective work that we're proposing here. Like I said, we're hoping to be able to get this work done as soon as possible. I did speak with the installer, and he told me, you know, it wouldn't take any longer than a week. He told me, you know, 2 to 3 days of work to get this done. But, you know, he is sort of between jobs right now, so, you know, we're hoping to get an extension to perform this work, you know, within the time frame of 3 weeks. That's the hope.
Yeah, I thought I had, maybe we didn't have this discussion, but, the plan, needs to be approved before you can request to do the work on it. So, this would have to be approved through a minor modification or an amendment or a new order or whatever the commission thought was
Because we have to get an updated plan of record.
Yeah, we can't like give permission to do work on a plan that hasn't actually been approved.
Since it's a different distance from the actual property line, and since you're changing the size of the septic system, well, the Board of Health would want
Well,
to.
they've, yeah, I think.
Board of Health is
They looked at the new plan?
They reviewed the new plan and
Okay.
they've signed off on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that piece of it's done, but yes, now we need to go through the process of getting our plans of record updated. And that's, is that an amendment or, yeah, that's an amendment process? Because an amendment is opposed to a minor mod.
I believe so.
Okay, so this would be an amendment because we're updating the plan of record. Is there anything else with just the plan correction, you know, the plan correction?
I don't have anything else on that, no.
Okay. Okay. Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience specific to updating the plan of record?
Yep.
Okay, if you please come to the microphone.
I'm Kathy Duchesne. I live next door at 86 Tadmuck. We were just wondering, does like like when things are opened up and then moved again, does the conscom or somebody or the Board of Health come by and like bless it before it gets covered up again?
You mean check the modifications made to the,
yes.
to the leach field? Does the Board of Health come in and do an inspection of that?
I would assume so. I don't think we would, but
I believe once they make the corrective work, the Board of Health would come out and take a look. We do need to come back out and update the as-built plan to show that this has been done, so, and then the town will review the as-built plan, so this will be handled, I believe, similar to any other septic construction when, you know, when we're trying to close everything up here.
And we have the whole planting issue, but that's after this.
Yeah, yes, we're taking things one piece at a time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so you will be submitting an amendment request?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and, you know, Matt will be back, the beginning?
Week of Christmas he'll be back, but of
Yeah.
course he'll be very tied up for that period of time. The deadline for our January 8th meeting is December 18th, which is a week from today, so if you wanted to get an amendment submitted for and we could potentially put that on January 8th.
Okay, and so you would be submitting that to Sierra at this point?
Right, yeah, Matt won't be back yet.
Yeah, that sounds doable. We'll definitely aim for that.
Okay. And now we need to move into the second part of the discussion related to the previously approved work, which is the removal of additional trees not approved for removal. Sarah, would you want you or me to report on our site visit?
Either way, I guess.
Okay. So Sierra and I met with Robert and somebody else from your office.
Joseph March, yeah.
Joseph, out on site to get the story about how the lot lines, the issue with the lot lines on the first project. And we were then looking at the site, and we saw trees. I think there were besides the trees that were taken down that happened to actually be on the neighbor's property. I think there were additional trees along that property line as well that were taken down that were not approved for removal. There were several large trees between the erosion control and the wetlands that were taken down. The stumps were left in place so we can see the size of the trees that were removed. There were other trees on the far side of the house that were not slated to be removed that are gone. And I believe, did we ever figure out if those trees in the front are also in the buffer zone?
I was unable to figure it out because they were never marked on a plan, unfortunately, so it'd be really helpful if these 3 trees that were removed right here could be on a plan, because they are potentially close to where that 100-foot buffer falls.
Yeah, so I think, and with the new plan, does it identify the trees beyond the erosion control that were taken down, in terms of location and size on the updated plan we were just looking at?
I don't think so. I think that was just the property line and the revised septic work, right? Because I don't think.
Right, no, we're not showing where the existing
No, but,
trees.
oh yeah, you're actually still showing, so these ones here that are marked as particularly large trees, I'm guessing those may have been this one, and this one, may have been 3 of the 5 that were observed on site.
Yeah, but.
Which are not there anymore, of course, so.
So do we want to go to the effort of documenting on this plan all the additional trees that were removed, especially ones between the erosion control and the wetlands?
We're sure that that's a violation.
Yeah, I think, just in terms of what happened.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if those trees are gone, they certainly shouldn't be shown on a plan as existing moving forward, so,
yeah.
And I'm guessing that those.
It tells a real
those are the
story.
ones that are gone.
And I think they should be replaced too.
Yes.
They were very large.
First one's
They were
identified.
significant
Yeah,
size.
well, but, and yes, there were several layers to this discussion, because with these actions, there were special conditions that have been violated, which carries the prospect of issuing fines. There's corrective action that we want to take in terms of replanting trees that were not approved for removal, including the trees on the adjacent property owner's property.
Don't know if we have that authority.
To an enforcement order, if there were, so some of the trees that were taken down on the adjacent property were taken down because the property line was incorrectly identified.
Correct.
Well, let me make a quick correction to that. So you can still see trees that are X'd out on this plan. Those are the trees slated to be removed. You can see one sitting here on the property line. That was not sitting on the property line on the previous plan. So this one was slated to be removed, should not have been. These 3 here, I believe these 3 have been removed, but they were never slated to be removed on the left side here.
So they were removed beyond even what the old property might have shown? I'm just
I'd
wondering
have to-
what plan the tree company used.
So I received a letter
Tree
from them.
Masters?
Yeah.
As we were flipping through,
Yeah,
I received a letter from the Tree Masters arborist, and so he had basically said, I'll try to summarize this here. He told me 8 additional trees were removed, not on the work order. 6 near the street were on a slope and had exposed roots. 2 near the house were dead. Based on the crew's experience, they decided to remove 8 hazardous trees while they were on site.
The trees that we observed on site were not in any of those areas. The trees that we observed on site to be cut, that were not slated to be cut, were not in any of those areas. They weren't along the front or anything. They were out back beyond the limit of work and on the side of the house.
Right. Well, we'll have to clear it up with them then, because I'm not sure what they are referring to in this letter then.
They may very well have taken down other trees too. It's just they're not accounting for the ones that we actually observed on site, except for maybe, I did observe 3 across the front of the property. Maybe those were 3 of the ones they took, but the 5 that we observed in the backyard and the side of the house were, that's not included in his statement, so.
Right, no, it doesn't seem to be.
Marilyn?
Don't we have to go on record, though, of having exactly what was taken out? So, and what was taken down, so that it can be compared?
Well,
It can't be a
part of the problem
loosey-goosey
is-
kind of thing.
part of the problem is they pulled a lot of the stumps, so that we can't
Count.
we can't go back and count stumps to know how many trees were taken out, other than the ones beyond the erosion control. Okay, so, Eric, you had said you don't think that through an enforcement order, we can dictate planting
on an
replacements?
adjacent owner's property,
Right,
it's not before us.
so,
Isn't that between
but if they were
whoever
taken,
did the work and the adjacent homeowner?
but if they were taken, if some of the trees were taken down based on the approved plan, which turned out to have faulty property line,
Is it I guess if the trees were within our jurisdiction, maybe.
yes,
Okay.
most of the site is within our jurisdiction.
No, I get it.
So,
Perhaps.
We should
I
certainly
haven't
have-
seen it. I
Okay.
can't remember where I've had to, they've been on an adjacent owner's property and, remove trees like that and then try to deal with that through an enforcement order.
is this maybe something where we draft a letter to town council?
Not a bad idea.
It just in terms of,
Giving us
is-
direction.
some of this is, is the abutting homeowners have lost most of their screening buffer. And it's what, is what are the mechanisms in place?
We might have some rights, but I don't want to take away any rights that the adjacent homeowner might have. So it's not like it's not like I'm really sure. I mean,
Well, it just
I wouldn't
is,
mind having counsel render an opinion.
in
Agreed.
term,
Good idea.
okay, in terms of, if the adjacent homeowner is in agreement to having trees replanted on their property, can we make that part of the enforcement order?
Exactly.
To,
So
to,
we hold
to
somebody
basically,
accountable.
yeah, and your suggestion is that we pose
That to counsel.
that remedy to council to make sure that
But,
that's.
that's just us trying to deal with something that shouldn't in any way mitigate or, stop the homeowner from seeking other relief other than just planting of trees.
Yes. Okay, yeah, and, because, yes, there's trees that were not approved to be removed. There's the ones that were actually on the adjacent homeowner's property. They're the ones
The
between the
adjacent
erosion.
homeowner might have other recourse other than the commission planting trees on their property through an enforcement order.
Okay.
You know, certainly, whatever trees we plant aren't gonna be of any caliber or size to what was taken down.
They may want
And,
fencing or-
and those adjacent homeowners might be seeking additional relief.
Okay, so
But a legal opinion wouldn't hurt.
So it's worthwhile finding out what reaching out to town council to finding out what the options are. And then, so that's one area of violation. The next area of violation is the removal of trees between the erosion control and the wetlands. And I think we need to,
Have some restorative plan or something that shows how they're gonna mitigate that.
well, and in this case, do we want them dictating that, or do we want to dictate what gets planted in place?
I think.
Do we know exactly how many and and?
Oh, yes, the stumps are still there. They're
Okay.
18 inches to 24 and up pines.
I think we need some
How
conservation
many?
posts back there too.
Well, no, because they're actually, conservation posts are
And then they're
within
beyond
the.
it into the wetland, in the
There were
resource.
the plan has conservation posts, in approximately the location of the 30-foot no disturb. So
They went beyond that.
Beyond that.
they went beyond that, they went beyond the erosion control.
And they still harvest it.
Actually, I don't know.
This is
if
one of the
it's-
rare times that I'm sitting on this board for 24 years, that I think we should dictate what needs to be done.
Yeah, but I wanna hear council's opinion
Well,
before I
that's
go.
what I mean by council.
We do anything further.
But I'm talking
You
about
mean even the
council.
ones between the erosion control and the wetlands?
Well, let's think about how we wanna deal with that. We know we're gonna deal with something. Are we gonna determine that tonight?
Actually, probably, you're right, because part of that piece of the discussion is there are trees in the buffer zone on the other side of the house that were not even proposed to be removed, that were removed.
I just want direction.
So
Yeah.
maybe we wait to hear from town council and then we
Okay.
make the decision on all of it.
So
Wait.
the question to town council is twofold. One of it is, the issue where trees were removed on an abutting parcel because the lot line was not correctly located. And what are the different recourses there?
Do we have any options there or not?
Well, do we have options, and are there options that are solely the options of the adjacent property owner? And then the other one is where we've had trees removed beyond the limit of work, and in other parts of the site, are there any limitations to what we can, ask for as mitigation? In terms of replacement plantings as mitigation?
And we can find out if those other trees were actually within the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah, I think we'll need them to mark them on a plan, because it's
Okay, yeah.
hard to tell.
And I
from
figure
pictures
once we
and
get
stuff.
that, we're gonna probably do a site visit. We'll go out, we'll take a look, and we'll figure out, what's best for mitigation. Kinda hard to do is sitting here without really even having a good understanding. I think it's one of those ones we go out and figure it on site.
Okay,
Sounds like a good idea.
so do we want to do the site visit in parallel to the letter to town council? Or
I don't see
after?
why not,
Okay,
yeah.
Should we get the plan first and then compare the
Yeah.
stumps to all the?
do we really, that's a good point. Do we want to do the site visit before we have an updated plan that provides a location of all the trees that were removed?
We can wait.
Well, I'd rather have the plan so I can
Right, you can
compare and verify, and if there are additional ones that aren't on the plan that are out there, well, I can note those at that
Well,
time.
If there are trees removed that had their stumps removed, I don't
Then,
see
yeah, it's
how
gonna be hard,
we're
yeah,
not
I
gonna be
know.
able to locate
Okay.
those.
So
But-
there's at least 8, if I'm counting correctly, that do have stumps. So we know there's at least 8 that weren't supposed to be cut.
We can definitely go out there and get any stumps that are still there.
Yes, because most of that's towards the front of the house, and then on the opposite side of the house from where the septic is. There were trees taken down there.
Should we send a letter to the tree company letting them know that no work should be done? You know, getting other stumps out of there before we can go in and.
Well,
I don't think New England Tree Masters are still on the property doing work, are they?
I don't think so, no.
no, you were, yeah, I think they are done.
No, I mean, the septic system's been installed, and I don't think there was any intent for them to come back.
Okay. So, in terms of getting us an updated plan,
So this updated plan, you're looking for something that identifies the stumps out there, and then what else would we be looking, or what else would we be showing?
can you go back to the plan? Okay, so with this plan is, what we want shown on this plan is the location of the stumps of all the trees that were removed, that were not on this plan, requesting to be removed. Okay. And then once
There's
we
gonna
have that
be
plan, we'll schedule a site
2
visit.
here, 3 here, and then 3 back here as well.
Okay.
They actually might be those 3 dots that are called out.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely update the plan to show, any stumps that are still there.
Okay. And I'll work with you on drafting that letter to town council.
Sure.
Okay.
We should continue this to at least the second meeting in January, at least that long, so we gotta wait for
Well,
town council and the updated plan,
can you get us the updated plan by January 8th?
and town council too.
But showing the trees, definitely, I mean, we can have that for you very, very soon.
I'm thinking, Jim, that if,
And town council response, we wanna see that too, right?
Yes.
We wanna know what our options are in the.
but if they can have an updated plan showing the location of the stumps by January 8th, at our January 8th meeting, do we want to schedule a site visit so that we can go view the stumps?
Will we have the answer from town council then?
Perhaps not.
Right.
So,
It's, I think the 8th is, given the holidays, the
Yes,
8th is.
instead of overloading the first meeting, let's
okay,
go
so
for the
you,
second.
what I'm hearing is that you'd rather continue this to the 22nd, and at which point we will get the updated plan, we will schedule the site visit. At that point, we may have a response from town council.
More likely, yep.
Sure, and just to make sure I understand this, we're talking about an enforcement order, for this, for the tree removals? So it's an
Or
enforcement order
replanting.
on the tree removals, and we're filing an amendment for the corrective septic work?
Correct.
So
The
it's
amen-
2 separate.
Right, yes, the enforcement order, because of the tree removal, is independent of the amendment because of the changes needed to the septic.
Okay.
And then unknown handling is the trees that were on the wrong side of the property line. Trees-
Right.
We don't know what the story is on that. We're gonna wait for town council response and what our options are
But
there.
if from what you see in the field, you can identify the trees that are shown here on this plan that are no longer there, please X them off so that we know they are gone.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience?
Good evening, Ronald DeShane, 86 Tadmuck Road. I'm trying to understand this, but how this survey was done, and I don't know how far you were off. I don't know how many times you checked whoever did it checked their figures, but to me, this is just unacceptable. What we're left with now. I just don't understand. My surveyors came out, and they laid out my property, because I had to do something here, because we basically had a good idea where our property lines were, but we made sure that we did. But I don't understand, is to set up this project, but you just look at an arbitrary area, and looks good? I just don't understand.
Jonathan, you want to answer?
Yeah, I mean,
The record plan of the lots, we use that. There's not a lot of monumentation shown on it. We tied into some of the stone walls that are shown there, and we had a plan that we found on a neighboring property that showed the house. So we used that to help figure out where we were. It turns out that there was a slight twist to the property line that the other company went to an abutting subdivision plan that came later, and based on that, that again doesn't show monuments. They use monuments on Ryan's Way Circle, and they came up with something different than what we had. At the time, we felt we had a reasonable solution. The nature of this older plan of these lots, with their no monumentation beyond the stone wall there, it turns out that we don't. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, are we ready to continue?
Sure.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to January 22nd, 2025?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, oh. We also have your other public hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we going to discuss that today? I think the feeling was last time
Yes.
we weren't going to discuss it until this had been resolved.
I think so, yes. What we need to do is talk about how far out into the future we continue that, because we want to get all of this straightened out before we deal with what comes next, in terms of.
Now, are you expecting that a certificate of compliance be issued for this work before we can proceed, or can we, what's the expectation on timeline as far as completion of this work?
So.
We would have to resolve the reinforcement order.
Yeah, I would, yes, because if we issue a certificate of compliance and there is not compliance with the enforcement order, do we have anything to basically?
What's our recourse?
What's our recourse in terms of getting compliance with the enforcement order?
I know typically we try to finalize our enforcement orders before we issue.
Okay, so what we're, at this point, without knowing what the enforcement order will be, I think at this point it's premature to talk about issuing a certificate of compliance for the project.
I just, what I'm trying to get at is, are you expecting for us to get an order of or get a certificate of compliance before discussing the driveway and proposed deck?
Maybe if the enforcement order gets, I don't know what you guys feel
Well,
comfortable
no,
with.
so I think what you're asking is, would the next filing be discussed prior to getting to a certificate of compliance on the first filing?
Right, exactly.
And I think, are we okay with letting both projects be open and moving forward at the same time? Do we want, would we take any further action on filing 1865, which is the driveway changes and the deck, prior to getting everything else tied up on the lot and a certificate of compliance issue?
We asked the attorney that.
Well, I don't know that I think that's maybe more of our purview.
Yeah, I think we can have them go simultaneously.
Okay.
Okay.
How,
In that case, I would say, maybe Well, if we're gonna do it simultaneously, can we continue this to the January hearing as well? And then,
No, because, okay. Finish your sentence.
well, I was gonna say, well, you know, even if we get to January and it's not time to discuss, we'll push it further out if needed.
Our agendas are getting really crazy. My suggestion would be to, because we've got so much we still need to deal with before we would start looking at this next filing, my thought would be to continue it till the second meeting in February.
I agree.
How does that sound to you? In terms of, because we really don't like having stuff on the agenda that people show up for, and then we say, oh, you know, we're not ready to do something, we're just gonna push it out without discussion. I think I'd rather, you know, is the
No, I hear what you're saying.
yeah, I don't know that we'd be in a position to start thinking about this or having clear in our mind
26th.
what we were gonna do before later in
You're
February.
right, and we're still waiting on, waiting on town council's,
Mhm.
opinion to our question and stuff like that, so, it probably wouldn't hurt to,
So February 26th? Okay.
We maybe do the February 12th in case, we kind of get through things a little quickly. I mean,
put it there.
Mike,
We can just push it off, it happens.
yes, but what I'm thinking about is every time we push it off, people who are interested come to.
And I get that, but it happens all the time. I mean, we amend our agendas all the time.
But we couldn't
that's the-
amend it, we'd have to continue it in the next, at that meeting, we would have to continue it.
Okay, and
So-
that does happen.
Do we want, so continue it to February 12th?
It's fine.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February, public hearing for DEP file number 334-1865 to February 12th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I just have one more thing on 88 Tadmuck, not pertaining to the public hearing, but to the discussion part. When you submit for the amendment request, can you also include the revised conservation posts, because they are not where they're required to be by the order right now? They have been pushed back quite a bit.
Or was that because of the needing to keep clear for the well?
So I don't, I think you said something about a water line, but I don't think the water line runs, on the 30-foot buffer, so I'm just not really sure why the conservation posts would all have been shifted back several feet from where they're required.
Did you say back, Sierra, which direction?
Closer to the wetland, yeah.
To the
So
east.
like at the 20 instead of the 30 or something like that, and so they all kind of seem to be shifted back quite a bit.
from what I recall at the final hearing before the order was issued, I had a plan that showed the conservation posts in a certain location. I believe they were at the 30-foot, they followed the 30-foot buffer zone line, and then we had a discussion here, and I had told everyone we should push these back because of the septic tank location, the pump chamber location, as well as the well. So that was agreed upon before we had.
All right, well, that's unfortunately not on the approved plan or in the order of conditions. The order of conditions in the approved plan do show them.
So is that because we never got an updated plan after that discussion in the meeting?
I don't know, I don't remember.
I don't think you guys requested an updated plan. I thought we agreed it would be put in the order, but it doesn't sound like it was in the order.
Nope, when I got the new plan for the new filing, the first thing I did was look at the old plan and said, oh gosh, these are different, so, and I looked at the order, and the order required them where they were shown on the plan, which was along the 30, so it just, it's one thing if one of them has to be shifted because of a water line, but I don't know that 5 or 6 of them need to be slid back multiple feet.
Well, I mean, we can pull these in as close as possible, but, we need to allow for maintenance of the well and the tanks. I mean, the septic tank's gonna need to be pumped out every few years or so.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is the line went from approximately the 30 to now it's behind it. And I don't know if maybe you could like shift the post to still kind of get it close to the 30 in some places. My concern is that the approved plan showed it in one place and the new plan shows them all bumped back.
Right, look, we can pull these posts in as much as possible, but the way I'm showing them on the current plan, I mean, that's right up against where we have our well and the tanks, as well as the water line.
Well, unfortunately, the 30-foot buffer doesn't seem to be shown on this plan.
It's a 50-foot, and it's in the realm of that distance.
Right, like what, yeah.
The well
So
is
if the well is 27.5 feet away, why is this conservation post way back here? That's kind of what I'm getting at, is these were all shifted back, and I just am not quite sure why.
Those posts could be a lot closer to the well, you're saying then, right?
Well, yeah, they should be further away from the wetlands than they're currently shown.
Right.
Well, yeah, they're outside what looks like the water line.
Yeah.
But do they have to be, especially the one, at the one between the well itself and the wetlands, does that have to be that far off?
Right, we can pull that in, we're talking about maybe 5 feet inward. But we're not opposed to doing this, I'm just trying to explain that we need to leave, at least, we can't pull them further in than that water line there, in case maintenance needs to be done on the property.
All right, then that'll just have to be part of the amendment request. That's different than what was approved.
So putting it in with the amendment request means that we get a plan that basically is complete and correct with the locations of, where stuff is supposed to, where the post is supposed to be. Okay. So we've done the continuation to February 12th. No, we've done that. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to our next, so I think we're done for this evening?
Oh, yeah, I think so, we're all close out.
Okay, so now we're moving on to our 8:25 PM agenda item, which is a minor modification request for Hill at 54 Lakeshore Drive South.
Hello again, everyone. Pete Blaisdell from Williams and Garages. A little earlier than we were last time.
Yeah, really.
Not a lot.
Not much.
Last time I felt bad for everybody here, so. Hi again. Pete Blaisdell representing Tom Hill. And, let's see. So, when we wrapped up a little bit last time, I had a question right at the very end, and thank you for being patient. And the question was, if we were to convert the deck that was on the approved plan, which is here. Do you happen to have that little, the two little colored ones that's here? If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I do, sorry.
All right, no.
There's that one.
Okay. So the one that you can see up there, that's the approved plan. And the beige square in the back, that was a deck with some stairs leading down to the back. And then the gray area over on the left there, just inside the buffer zone, that was where the true grid steps were gonna be. And the question I asked the commission, obviously, was if we were to convert that to a, he wanted to call that a fireplace room, if we would convert that to a fireplace room and slide a deck over to the left, which is the next slide, what would the commission want to see, either a modification or a sorry, my son's in college trying to tell me his finals suck. The commission basically said if we were to put a full foundation underneath it, they would want to see an amendment to the order of conditions. If we just kept it up on columns and we didn't change the foundation, they would entertain a modification to the order, and as long as the foundation didn't change. So I want to segue into an apology to this commission. So I want to start right now. I should have come to you sooner. When I first went over this with Mr. Hill, we talked about, he wanted to put the steps that go in on the left down to that first level where there is. I should have asked him more, like, what do you need for steps, that type of thing. And I didn't really ask him, I guess, the best amount of questions. So when he called me later on, because he's been very careful about this, because obviously he doesn't want to get in trouble anymore, and every time he's wanted to do something, he's asked me, and I said, well, let me think about it, I'll get back to you. So he had said, you know, if I wanted to spread the stairs out a little bit so I can get down there easier, he goes, I'm still gonna keep the true grid, still gonna be just some steps, but I want to put a couple of little short stone and masonry walls next to it. Do you think that would be okay? I kind of considered that as a normal thing would be landscaping. Like it's not a structure, they were already in the plan, we're changing them a little bit. I was kind of thinking that he was gonna go up the slope a little bit more to the front, but he was thinking getting down to that first level there. So I want to apologize to the commission. I should have probably brought this to you sooner. Again, I've been, there's about 351 conservation commissions in Massachusetts. I've probably been before about 100 of them. Each of them are different. Some are very hands-on, some are very hands-off, some are very strict, some are more like just come see us when you're all done for that. But after the last commission hearing, and I saw how you wanted to do this, I realized I'd made a mistake. So I want to apologize and take full responsibility for that. This was not my client, this was me. I'm on a learning curve here. I've never presented before the Westford Concom before, so I will not make that mistake again. And again, I just want to let you know. The other thing is, what he wants to do is, it's still gonna be stairs with just granite, and the true grid grass fill, so it's still just gonna be lawn. It's just with his disability, for him to get from there down to those steps, it was gonna be very difficult, so he wanted to kind of spread it out. The other thing he wants to do is to, the house on the right is very close to the lot line. He wanted to know if it would be okay to put in that row of arborvitae on the right, just as, he doesn't want to put a fence there, because the other gentleman's house is only like 2 feet off the lot line. He thought he'd pull some arborvitae back and just put like a living fence there. All the other work that's been done from the lake, pond, all the way back up to that point has all been done. We've been making our weekly inspections. Sierra was kind enough, we've been going back and forth in emails, and I apologize to Sierra today as well, because sometimes I get caught up with emails and just sending off these quick responses. I should have called her, it would have been easier. She actually called me, and it was a lot more productive. So the applicant went in yesterday and today, and he redid all the erosion control, because it was starting to get a little haphazard. Sierra just said, can you please have him make it better? I called him, he said, yeah, absolutely. He went down with a couple guys today, and he redid and retrenched in all the silt fence and did all new mulch and staked it down better, overlapped and made sure. And he got it in, started yesterday, finished up today before most of the rain. So I was happy about that. And he just wanted to let you know that he wants to make sure this is done right. So the things that we're asking for a modification would be the stairs to still be true grid stairs with the granite, but now we're going to extend down further to that first landing. And one of the things he wanted to do, I apologize.
Orange.
Orange, is it that guy?
There you
All
go.
right. Oh my God. Whenever I'm sorry if I'm shaking. I get really nervous when I have to say I'm sorry for something. So what he wants to do, I thought originally he wanted to have stairs go down the side, but what he really wants to do is, oh God, I'm so sorry. He comes out the back. What did I hit wrong? And
It might go away. Hold on.
Support.
Give it a second.
Actually, wait a minute. Actually, boy. So what he really wants to do is either come down the back steps and walk down the stairs here, and then he can come down here, and then he can get down to here. I thought he wanted to come down this way, but he said he doesn't. So he and the neighbor here have been kind of working together a little bit, because there's this valley that kind of flows between their property. They want to sort of blend their property in a little bit. And part of doing that, he wants to put a little wall here. It's outside the buffer zone, but I still want to bring it up to you. He wants to put a little wall here. It's going to drop down a couple feet, and then he'll continue the grading here to the steps. The stone and masonry walls they're only about 2.5 feet high. They don't need a building permit. They're really just stone walls with a core. And same thing, he and the neighbor here just kind of want to make this look a little smoother, so he's just going to grade into the top of the wall like that. Once he gets down the bottom, he was concerned because this was kind of a channel. This was really directing the runoff down that side. He wanted to flatten that out a little bit, and especially with the true grid, those are almost like having little detention ponds as you go down. And when you get down the very bottom, what he wanted to do is he put in a little vertical granite curb here, so that any runoff that does come down will stop there. And then he put in a little flat section here of true grid, so that's going to give it a place to exfiltrate there, so it doesn't just keep on going down the slope. We're going, oh God, I did it again. Oh, that's it. I believe that's plantings. I'm gonna, just full disclosure, there's a little fence here that was in poor condition that fell down. He just wants to replace that. And I think that's everything. We were here, you extended us, it's in two parts. You did extend us till, January 1st. Since if we do need a little more time to get the foundation in, we've put in a request to go to February 1st. But that is our modification request. I will let you, I'm gonna be quiet now, and let you talk about it and ask any questions you would like. See what you'd like to do.
Want me to start? Okay, yeah, so what you're saying is the work after December 1st was originally that you were gonna put in the foundation and backfill.
Yeah.
And instead, went ahead and started working on the stairs.
He did, and at that time, he asked me to ask you at that last meeting, can he turn that, what was a deck, into a fireplace room? And
Yeah.
I went back to him, I said, if you put it up on columns, I think they'll be okay with the minor modification. If you wanna do a full foundation, we have to come back with an amendment. He talked it over with his wife, and they said, let's just try for the modification. So that's how that came about.
And I guess what concerns me, is the last meeting, it was specifically the deck becoming part of the house and adding some more deck. A lot of the things he talks about make sense, but speaking for myself only, this continue to modify as you go, as opposed to let's think through things and come up with what the plan is that you're going to do. I'm very concerned about this incremental approach, because sometimes if you address each thing as he thinks of it, rather than getting it all out there, sometimes we may not make, if we knew where he was going to end up, we might have had something different to say with some of the earlier requests, like, extending the stairs. You talk about it ponding, having true grit at the bottom. Well, if we get torrential rains and stuff like that, are we going to have spillover and erosion going down? Is that area of true grit at the bottom going to be able to hold all that water?
It's the same as lawn, but it actually has more storage than lawn. So if this were gonna be, this before was just gonna be a grass swale, it would actually have less chance of runoff through there.
Okay, when I read about the deep valley and they wanted to address that, and the question that we haven't talked about yet is, yes, maybe it's outside the buffer, but is that valley, what function does that valley fulfill today, conducting precipitation down towards the pond? And it just, is if he's going to make a change up here, does that affect the rate or the flow of runoff farther down the hill?
No, it does not. It's the same area, it's the same curved number, it's the same types of concentration.
But are you changing the grades at all?
We are changing the grade, but that would have happened anyways with the septic plan. So there used to be a garage or a barn here, and there was a cottage down here. The barn was taken down, so we would have to have changed the grades of that anyways, just with the septic system to comply with Title V. So we're not changing the runoff rate or anything that's gonna reach the pond from that. If anything, like I said, we're giving it a little bit more of a chance maybe for the runoff. Anything that exfiltrates in here ends up in the pond anyways, and anything that runs over the surface of the pond ends in as well.
If we get really cold weather, will the true grit sod freeze so that it?
No, because it's like it's pea stone. It's basically a pea stone bottom with cups that have like some loam and seeds. So if your lawn freezes, this does the same type of thing. Once. So it would infiltrate even in really cold conditions. If it got really cold and then it rained, the rain would still infiltrate in where it wouldn't infiltrate into frozen ground. It should act about the same way as grass. The only difference between this and grass is that it's got more storage underneath it. So this is like,
But
it's
it
like.
still can freeze, once
It can
gets-
still freeze.
Once water gets in there and freezes,
Yes.
it's not,
Okay.
water's not gonna be able to continue
Okay, so
to
that-
percolate
Right.
through.
Okay.
If you get like, for instance, I had a few years ago, a commissioner asked me, well, what happens if you get snow, then it melts, then it freezes, and then it snows again, it rains again? I said, well, we're in trouble, because that's not a normal condition for a drainage analysis. But under normal circumstances, Margaret, it actually allows more runoff to infiltrate in.
Yeah, and I guess my concern is just with the steepness of the slopes here.
So,
And
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think, to get to your point is, you know, they say they're gonna do one thing and something else gets done and we react to it. And then has been the case since we've been on this site for years.
Quarters ago.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is more of the same. I'm not surprised, but, you know, we like to know what's going to be done and have it figured out before it gets constructed. This seems to be kind of like, you know, design and build before you even come, you know, it's happening, and then we're seeing it after the fact.
I'm gonna blame the house on the, I'm definitely gonna blame the house on the client. He should have had that done. If I'd had that on the plan first, we wouldn't even be having this. If I'd had the deck there and the foundation and the fireplace room and all that was done on the first notice of intent, we wouldn't even be having this discussion, because you would have had it.
But we would have been, well, and if you'd had.
Well, you
and
could
if-
have said no.
No,
At
but-
least you would have known.
But if there had been the level of discussion about what he really wanted for the stairs.
I'm with you 100% on that. I wish he had given me exactly what he wanted to build, and then,
Probably how he lives.
well, he's from Revere, and
I'm just saying that this is.
But it just, yeah, is because it kind of begs in my mind is, and what's the next piece we don't know about?
so I already told him that this is the last time I come here. So I said, if they grant the minor modification, that's it. We're not doing anything different. I said, if they decide they don't want to give you the minor modification and they make us file again for an amendment, I said, then we're going to do that. And he said, okay. But I said, but we're not doing anything else. I'm not doing it again. So, again, if you want to discuss this and I already feel your frustration, because I asked him when he said he wanted to do this, I said, please no. But that's not really in my purview. I have to kind of follow what my client asks a lot of times. So, I'm not coming back with any more changes.
What do you think, Jim?
Anything beyond this gets negative. We say no.
I
Just
Well-
keep changing and changing and
Well, I
changing.
just, or actually, is the changes to the true grid steps, is that not talking about what type of request it is, but that's something that we would approve?
I'm thinking we would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that we basically figure out, what type of request is appropriate for that, and then nothing else until we've issued a certificate of compliance on this site.
If you would like to, what do you think? What do you feel about the arborvitae?
Oh, that's fine. I think that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. That's
Yeah.
on his property. It's out of our jurisdiction.
It's native,
Well, some of it's in your jurisdiction, Mr.
Well,
Falk.
yeah,
I mean, that it certainly is.
Okay.
yeah, but it's
We're also
native.
planting trees.
Well, I've been to some boards where they don't want to, again, everybody's different, so that's why I just wanted to make sure I asked. So if we're okay, we're okay. We're okay with the arborvitae, we're okay with the stairs. If you're okay with doing a minor modification so as I mentioned, this now is gonna be, I'm just gonna call it the fireplace room. The fireplace room is gonna be up on the second level only, there's not gonna be any foundation on it. The deck that was here is gonna be here, and the stairs down
What's
the road.
underneath of the,
It's gonna be just either lawn, or I can make it crushed stone, whatever.
it's not a walkout there, or?
From here, that's basically a one step down from the cellar floor, or maybe a one step just to grade, and then you hit the lawn.
So the fireplace room and the
Yep.
deck would actually be level with the first floor so that you'd almost be
Yes.
able to walk underneath?
Yeah, it'd be, so when you're in the back here, yes, you would climb up to the deck and the fireplace room, which gets you to the first
We
floor.
get a new plan?
So there are steps down to the deck from the fire room?
No, I think there's there's either a door from here in, onto the deck, or the fireplace is like right here. I can't remember if there's a door from the fireplace room out to the deck, or if it's just coming from
So
the main house.
does the fireplace need to have a foundation that goes all the way to the ground?
Not to my understanding, no.
Okay. So it's, okay. You know what? I think we want more detail because it's not, we want something that tells us what's going to be under those decks.
So, let's talk about that right now. Do you want loam and seed? Do you want crushed stone? When you say, what do you want to know with decks for the purpose of?
Well, and it just, is that would we be willing to, is that a decision we want to leave to the applicant of crushed stone or grass, or is that, I mean.
Grass isn't gonna work well there, it's in the.
It's in the shade.
It's on the north side and it's underneath.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
But
get
it
any
just,
light.
in terms of,
I was thinking crushed stone.
okay, yeah,
Gravel, stone, yeah.
and I'm thinking, you know, the plan, somewhere in the plan, giving us the detail that says the fireplace room and the deck are off the first floor so that you're actually,
I don't have a visual, I mean, I'm trying to get a visual.
Yeah.
But, and a lot of times, somebody will give me a visual on a plan, they'll give me a rendition of what it's supposed to look like, so I'm not trying to guess in my mind.
so you're looking, you're, a face, and.
Or a
a
side
picture
view,
that-
or a back, you know, something
well,
that's
like-
letting me
like with
visualize.
like 20 Briarwood, where he showed us what the face of the new structure would look like.
Right.
So he sketched it up for his architect. His architect was gonna do an elevation of it, but he was just gonna hold, but if you said no, he wasn't gonna have his architect draw it up. But I can ask him to have him draw it
Well,
up.
because some of this is.
I don't think we're gonna say no, I just think we wanna see it.
Right,
So we're all in agreement, so when it changes, we'll be like, well, I had a different, I don't wanna say I had a different vision in my
We want a plan
mind.
that says, that basically shows what this looks like when you're standing on the grass looking at the house, so that we know it's here, because we really wanna know what's gonna be under that fireplace, so that when we come back and look at this, we know
What we're
what was
getting.
built
Yeah.
was what we were told was gonna be built.
How about I have his architect draw up an elevation of the back and send it along so you can look at it?
That'd be fine.
That would be good to have that in
And
the
then there
file.
won't be any questions.
Because there always seems to be a misunderstanding or confusion. And
Imagine living with this man.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to minimize any confusion amongst the parties.
So, does this, is this in the realm of minor mod or amendment request? Because I think we wanna see those, you know, I think we're acceptable with what he says he wants to do. We wanna see what the architect has drawn it up. We wanna see the plans of what it's going to look like. So, after tonight, we're not, from my perspective, I don't think we're saying, you can go ahead and keep working on it. Because I think we want to be given what the final plan is going to be before anything more gets done. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I'm not ready to continue to extend to allow further work on the site after, we said December 1st to what, the end of?
To January 1st.
To January 1st.
Or whatever.
So until we have this finalized, I really am not comfortable with letting him proceed at his own risk.
I agree.
Because, well,
Because he proceeds.
yeah, and is this, so,
He has stopped. I asked him, he hasn't worked on 2 weeks. So I asked him to stop, he did stop.
with from a process perspective, is this a minor mod or an amendment? Given the types of changes that are being requested, what are your thoughts? Sarah, you wanna weigh in?
Yeah, it's borderline. It's.
Let's make it the easiest way out.
I'd love to see, you know, it's
Well-
hard to know.
So, and I guess, so it's not gonna be a minor modification request that's granted tonight because we haven't seen the plans.
It's true.
So, how?
Let's
would-
see the plan and then we'll come up with,
Well, I guess, you know, in some ways you may be right, because if we see that plan and all of a sudden there's more, that may
then
tip
we
it.
then we
That may
anticipate it.
tip it from a minor mod to an amendment, depending on when you get the plan, what we see there may be more than we've understood from
Right,
this
so
conversation.
there's no change to the foundation, so let me just put that to rest. That brown line there, that's the foundation, that is not changing.
Okay,
That will not change. The only thing that's gonna change is, like right now, he did give me an elevation of the back of this building, but the back of the building as it is right now, he didn't have anything on, the architect literally had like a little landing with steps coming down to grade. So I'll ask him to add in that fireplace room and the deck with stairs to grade. That is on an, you know, so if you're standing down on the lawn, it's called the crushed stone, if you're standing next to the foundation in the back, the deck and the fireplace room are on the first level, which is above your head. So it's a walkout in the back with the first level up above you.
There's a lot going on here.
yeah,
So let's see the plan and then let's not, you know, we're fighting with ourselves right now, trying to figure out for something we can't even see. Let's get the plan and then we'll
Okay.
decide what it's gonna be.
okay, yeah, and because that way, if there's more detail he hasn't given you, we've got the flexibility to be able to say, okay, yeah.
We're gonna handle it one way or
It gets
another.
on, you get it on the plan, then we see the full picture of what's being requested, and we can
Right,
figure out.
so, and like I said, so the three things that he just wanted me to ask you was the stairs, that, and the plantings.
Yep.
And we're
and that's
fine
it.
with all of those.
And that's it. That's all I'm asking for.
We're fine with the concepts, we wanna see that, especially with the fireplace room and the deck and the stairs, we wanna see the plans that really show us what it's gonna look like,
Sure. I think that's fair.
okay?
And, all right, so,
So when?
January 8th is really busy.
So-
Yeah, I think you're getting,
We're doing it again. This is
We're
the
doing it
second
again,
meeting. That'll be
yeah.
the third.
I don't want you to hear this late. So, question.
24 years we've never
Can
done
he,
this.
all right, so all right, so everyone's okay with the stairs?
We're okay from, this is what he's asking for, and it's approvable. We're not we don't want work on the stairs until the plan is updated and we've approved the plan.
yeah, I think what we're saying is we don't want any more work until we get the updated plan.
Okay,
Yes.
so just so you know, this plan is not going to be updated. I'm only gonna give you an architectural rendering, that's it.
No, well,
There's no changes to this.
Right, but you're gonna give us an architectural rendition of what it's gonna look like.
Yes, but there won't be any changes to my civil drawing. So that is the plan.
Some description.
Well, there's nothing for me to change, I'm not an
Some
architect.
description of what's
Well,
gonna be underneath the deck, right?
if all of a sudden it comes up that there's gotta be a base under that fireplace, is that gonna change your drawing?
I'm gonna tell him he can't have it.
Okay.
Because if he wants to put a base under the fireplace that goes down to the ground, I'm gonna tell him that we can't do an amendment. I mean, we can't do a minor modification, it'll have to be amendment. And a lot of fireplaces, you don't need a foundation underneath them. They're either electric ones or they're,
Oh,
you
because
know,
it's not full stone,
no.
okay.
So, other than me, you know, putting, right here and just saying crushed stone with
Right,
with an
no,
arrow,
Sure.
there's really no change to my drawing.
But you're
tell
gonna
them
give
that.
us some artist rendition
But
of
I'm
what it's
gonna
gonna
give you
look
an
like.
architectural drawing.
Yeah.
Yes. But I will tell him to hold off. So just so you know how, with the stairs, he said he's got about 4 or 5 days more work, oh, God, it's late, more work to finish the stairs. I will tell him to continue not doing that. So if I get this back over to you, you think you're not gonna have, when's your next meeting?
January 8th.
Okay, so he's gotta hold off until January 8th
Well, but.
No, I think we're saying January 8th is booked, and now we're pushing to the 22nd.
Okay, so he
If
can't,
we keep doing that, and then on the 8th, we push stuff to the 22nd, it's just gonna keep spiraling out of control, so I don't know how much we should push off.
Do you think, from what you've heard us say, do you think that this is the kind of thing that we could wrap it up on the 8th with approving a minor modification request?
If he did nothing
On the
else.
8th? No. I don't see
He
how
did
we're gonna,
nothing
do you
else.
think we're gonna have time to do this? And
Well, do you think we have that much, if we get we've got this plan, we get the architectural rendering of it,
Can we do it in 15 minutes?
can we do it in 5?
Okay.
It just, how much are we gonna have to discuss to get it over the line?
If there's
To
nothing
get
to
it- to
discuss.
I guess it really all depends on what we see.
If we see
From the
nothing,
architectural rendering?
you're gonna see a deck and a call it a three-season porch with a fireplace in it. That's
And
it.
if you wanna try to squeeze them on the 8th, that's it, but I would say, after that, you're gonna have to, don't be pushing more on it. We're not
Yeah,
our best at this time of the night.
no, this is true.
We're dragging.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to then, all right, so as far as, okay, we're not gonna be done obviously by January 1st, so we put in a request to continue the work to
But
February 1st.
what are you doing
My birthday.
between now and January 1st?
Yeah,
tell me.
I guess nothing. He can't do anything. I mean, the only thing he could do, and I don't think he's doing that now, would be to put in the septic, but I don't think he's gonna do that until after the foundation goes in. So, I guess nothing. So I guess we'll have to, if you do approve the minor modification on January 8th, we'll have to put in a request
To work from that point to a point.
to work to that point on.
Yeah.
So why don't you just forget the one I requested then to go to February 1st, because you can't vote on that tonight.
But do we really want to, so, do we want to try and deal with this on the 8th, or just say, no, this is one that's we're going to kick it out to the 22nd?
How much do we have on the 8th already?
16?
I don't even want to hear this.
It's hard to tell, but if we, bump everything out to the 22nd, then we get to the 8th, and then we can't continue anything on the 8th to the 22nd, because it's full of everything we continued tonight to the 22nd. So, it kind of is gonna be a domino effect if we try to keep pushing stuff out,
So if this is something that we,
depending on what we get.
so if this is something where we see an expectation that we'll be able to close it out on the 8th, it might be worth it to do it on the 8th, because,
I'm fine, just,
Okay.
then let's
And
just
if
make
it's
it the
not,
8th.
we don't even discuss it, we tell you.
Let's move on. Let's,
can I have a motion to continue the well, this is a minor modification request, so do we have to, is there anything we're really continuing?
I don't think you actually have to vote on it or anything, but I will put it on the next agenda.
Okay, so you'll give us the stuff, and hopefully,
we'll continue our discussion.
yeah, we're intending to, and hopefully close it out on the 8th.
Good night.
Good night. Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
and,
You have minutes.
so this is scratched.
Yes, the request to work, we don't.
Okay, the request for certificate of compliance for Ryan Development, the third one, we had said at the last meeting that we were going to hold that one to monitor for 2 years, or to monitor into the growing season. The new information was that Matt had already worked with the property owner, and that there's a contract in place for 2 years to monitor and replace any dying vegetation. So, should we take the opportunity to get the certificate of compliance? Since there's monitoring already in place, that, it'll just be a matter of Matt checking up on them? So we.
I'm fine.
Okay, so could I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for Ryan Development LLC DEP file number 334-1338?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
My God. You all right?
Yeah, he's okay.
I thought he fell.
Okay, request for certificate of compliance for Claremont, 24 Burn Ave, 334-0361.
So this one is super easy. We actually had a similar one like this recently. It's just an older order for repairing a wall near the lake's edge. I went out there and took a look at it. It's still in great shape. Looks like it was built recently even. So everything seems to be good, and I think I would recommend voting to issue.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-0361?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And last but not least, the minutes.
I didn't see anything wrong with them.
I did have one question. Jim, when we were talking about the drainage work at Crew Farms, your concern.
I looked at my words were correct. I was worried about the water flowing down, not just onto to Tadmont, but because it goes over to the other side, the houses on the next street over, Dana Drive, I think it is.
Were you concerned about flow overland to those houses, or the fact that it was flowing underground past those houses?
Doesn't matter whether it's over or under, but when it
Okay.
goes to the end of the pipe, that part, so what's in the
Okay.
minutes is fine by me.
Okay. Then I don't have any changes. Oh, okay. So could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 13th, 2024 meeting?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.